count of 4. Thank you so much. If you'll stand and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible. Thank you. Please take your seats for our next trick. Marissa, we need to call some people up front. We're going to go get them? No. Okay. All right. Okay, so what we're going to do while we close the office and bring in the front office for something, we are going to move on to citizens' comments. And we have one person signed up tonight, Ms. Rose Gale. Ma'am, if you want to come forward, it's always a pleasure to see you. And the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you. I want to invite the City Council to a reception at the library on June the 27th from 5 to 7. It's an open house. The Friends of Garden Ridge have gotten back together. 5 years ago, we had the Friends of Garden Ridge, but during COVID, it closed down. And as a reminder, the Friends Group is a 501c3 organization with the purpose is to bring people who appreciate the library to enhance relationships between the community and the library, and to serve as ambassadors to the library and to relay ideas, suggestions of how we can better serve the community. And the largest goal is to get a larger library. The board has been assembled, and we've worked very hard to getting the organization back on track. Because of the inflation, the economy, and a large number of families in Garden Ridge with young children, the board is offering a year-long pass for $10 per family. As part of the rebuilding process, we're going to have a reception in the library on Tuesday, June the 27th from 5 to 7. Wine and hors d'oeuvres will be served. We are inviting the City Council, staff, and all residents to attend to get reacquainted with the library and all of the many activities that the library offers, from story hour for the very young children to the summer reading program, making cards for the troops, lunch and learn programs, Matt's About Science Club, Lego robotics, and adult coloring, just to name a few of the many activities that Miss Linda does for our community. We hope to see all of you on the 27th from 5 to 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Rose Gale. All right, that is the only person we have signed up for citizens' comments, so we will close out item number 4. We'll go back to item number 3, proclamations and presentations. Municipal Clerk's Office Achievement of Excellence Award. So Marissa, Courtney, Michelle, and Shannon, if you guys will join me up front. Okay, so we all know what an outstanding workforce we have in the city of Garden Ridge. All of our employees work for the city to make our lives better. Whether it's law enforcement, it's the library, it's public works and our water department, or the front office and all of our administrative and secretarial duties, of which for a government, a local government, there's a lot of things that you have to do and comply with federal, state, and local statutes and laws to make everything happen legally so that the city can continue to operate without a hitch. The stuff that none of us really see on a day-to-day basis, they're in the trenches, all of them, but specifically in this case, our admin and secretarial offices are in the trenches fighting it out day in, day out for 365 days a year, and they do a fantastic job at it. And so to recognize them, last month was recognition for Municipal Clerks Week, but we have something even more special to present. So this is from Tina Stewart, who's the Chair of Achievement of Excellence Award Committee at the Texas Municipal Clerks Association Incorporated, so a part of TML. Dear Mayor Erickson, this letter is to inform you that of the 595 cities with members in the Texas Municipal Clerks Association, the Office of the Municipal Clerk in the City of Garden Ridge is one of 24 to receive the Texas Municipal Clerk's Office Achievement of Excellence Award. The program recognizes the statutory requirements and demands for the effective management of resources for proper governance by the Municipal Clerk's Office. The award itself recognizes municipal clerk offices throughout the state for compliance with federal, state, and local statutes that govern standards necessary to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of the office. A municipal clerk office must have met and demonstrated 9 of 12 standards, we had all 12, to be eligible to receive the award. The 12 standards considered by a committee include records management, professional development and certifications, government transparency, elections, awards and recognitions, Public Information Act, Open Meetings Act, boards and commissions, municipal clerk office policies and procedures, other areas of responsibility, departmental training, innovation, and streamlining of projects. The recipients of this distinguished award will be recognized in the June issue of the TMCA Incorporated newsletter and officially acknowledged in October at the awards banquet held at our annual Advanced Institute. In addition, the Municipal Clerk's Office will receive a framed award certificate, so watch for it in the mail in the next few weeks. Sincerely, Tina Stewart. So congratulations. Do we have that? There it is. Yay. Check it. Nope. No, I'll give it to you. Yes. Look at that. That's fantastic. Big smile.
Are you behind the microphone? Can we scoot over a little?
Yes. Okay.
Guys, no.
See why she's so good? They're so good.
Thanks.
All right. So we need a picture of you in the middle of your whole team right here, and just you guys. Outstanding. Another round of applause, please. Thanks. We call Nancy our general, and if she's the general, Marissa's the colonel with her staff that keeps the general and the mayor out of trouble. So, thank you. Hey, Colonel. There's a few of them in here, so. Okay, congratulations again. Moving on to item number 5, consent agenda. These items may be acted upon in a single motion. No separate discussion or action on these items will be held unless requested by a city council member. Public comment on these items may be heard during citizens' participation. However, that does not mean that the item will be considered outside the consent agenda. Council, does anybody have anything that they want to pull from this month's consent agenda? Okay, no. If nobody has anything to pull, can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Do I have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. Thank you. A little bit of mayor's prerogative here. We're going to move up before we start item number 6, staff reports. we're going to move up item number 9I, which is the presentation from Republic Services regarding the collection and disposal of solid waste and recycling services. As you know, we have been in negotiations with Republic Services to negotiate our contract that has ended with an extension that we got through the month of July, which you are aware of. So we're going to call them up so that they don't have to sit through the entire meeting and go prior to updates, item number 10. So gentlemen, if you'll come forward. And they have a presentation to give to the council and the city about our contract negotiations. And gentlemen, welcome, and thanks for being here. If you would please introduce yourselves so everybody knows who we're talking to. And
Will.
the floor is yours, and I think you have some visual aids in the background
Okay.
over there, yes?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council, city staff, or should I say general and colonel. But before I dive in, wow, what a great recognition for your municipal clerk's office. And as a vendor of the city, I have contact with the ladies up front pretty frequently, and professional, knowledgeable, very polite, always very helpful, and hats off to you guys. It's a really great group that you have up here. I met you guys several weeks ago. I'll reintroduce myself and my boss. My name's Tom Armstrong. I'm the manager of municipal sales for Republic Services here in San Antonio. This is Bill Rich. He's our general manager. I've been with the company for 18 years. Bill's been with the company for 31 years and in the industry for 38 years. So he has a little bit of experience. Let me see if I can figure this out before we go. Before I kind of get into the proposal itself, I want to just take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about the company that we work for and that we represent. Republic Services is an industry leader in the waste and recycling industry. We provide reliable, responsible waste recycling services and disposal services. We have a brand promise, and our brand promise is sustainability in action. That means that our customers can count on us to provide an exceptional experience while protecting our environment, which leads us to our company values. We have 5 of them, and the first one is the most important one. These are the things that are most important to us as a company. Number 1 is to be safe, or safety. It's always been number 1 on our list of priorities, and I'm guessing it probably always will be, but it's our priority to protect the livelihood of our colleagues and our communities. Our drivers drive big, very heavy trucks that can cause a lot of damage if they're not done in a safe manner. So that's a very important priority for us. The next one is committed to serve. We go above and beyond to exceed our customers' expectations. We're environmentally responsible. We take action to improve our environment. We're driven to deliver results the right way. And lastly, we're human-centered. We respect the dignity and unique potential of every person. Our vision as a company is partnering with customers to create a more sustainable world. And just some quick statistics on who we are as a national company. We have 13 million customers in the United States. We do an average of 5 million trash pickups per day, 39,000 employees. We have the 5th largest vocational fleet in the United States with over 16,000 trucks. Our recycle centers process over 5 million tons of recyclables each year. And each year that number continues to grow more and more. It seems like just a couple years ago that number was 2 million. So we've got that going in the right direction. Locally, we employ over 500 people in our San Antonio market. Our San Antonio market is comprised of our San Antonio Hauling Division, Tessman Road Landfill, our San Antonio Recycling Center over on Hormel Road across from what used to be Splash Town, And then in Kerrville, we have a hauling company up there and a transfer station that we operate for the city of Kerrville up there. We have 32 municipal contracts that we service out of our San Antonio market. I'm responsible for about half of those. I have a counterpart that is responsible for the other ones. And in Texas itself, we have over 325 municipal contracts that we service in the state. So the main point of what we want to talk about tonight is currently the city is serviced by manual rear load collection. What we are proposing is that we transition that into automated side load residential collection. So, that just kind of begs the question, what are the reasons that we would want you guys to convert from the tried and true rear load to an automated side load system? And four main reasons. Number one, just like I spoke about earlier, safety. The position of a rear load driver, and especially the helper, who's the guy that works on the back of the truck that hops on and off and pitches trash into the hopper on the back of the truck, is one of the most dangerous jobs in our industry. It consists of repetitive motions, heavy lifting, sometimes in extreme climates like today. And believe it or not, we even have some days in the winter where it's pretty rough out there, especially when it's below 40 and the wind's blowing out there. It's tough on those guys. And at the same time, they're exposed to traffic and other hazards out there on the job. And being in that position, they're just significantly more prone to on-the-job injury than our other positions in the company. Kind of leads to the second item, which is people itself. It's becoming more and more difficult to hire for those positions. The driver position, not as much as the helper position, but if you're going to run rear load, you've got to have helpers, and you've got to have them every single day, or it just doesn't work. So even before the pandemic, it was getting more difficult to hire for that position. Since the pandemic, it's even more so, as you can imagine. It's more difficult to retain and recruit labor to perform those tasks, and we don't really expect that trend to change much at all. So along with that position being more prone to injury, it exposes us to more liability, obviously. And obviously, more liability just raises costs and ultimately rates. So what are some of the benefits of automated side load collection? And number one, retention of labor, a lot more, it's significantly improved. Significantly lowered safety-related incidents. And then community aesthetics are improved on city streets with rows of carts instead of bags of trash out, and a hodgepodge of different size carts and piles of debris that are out. And just gave you a little picture of the difference. The top picture you see is a city that is serviced by rear load. You can see some bags on the curb that raccoons love those. Their eyes light up when they see those. And then just different size and styles of carts. And then the bottom picture shows you what a community looks like that has automated service. It's just a lot more nice to look at, a row of carts that all look the same. Which brings us to the transition. How would we transition from the rear load service to automated collection service? And it's going to be a big change. And let's face it, it's a lot different than the way it's currently being done in the city. And also, change can be difficult. The best way to lessen the impact of this type of change is to make sure that the residents are fully aware of the changes up front, and that they know all the benefits of those changes. We've committed to work with the city to make sure that we have an education campaign going out to the residents before this takes place, We want to touch every resident that we can before we start the transition itself. So basically, step one of what our plan is to convert the recycling. Currently, everyone has an 18-gallon bin that is used for recycling, and we want to convert that from an 18-gallon bin to a 96-gallon wheeled cart, and that would take place at the beginning of the new term, which should be August 1st. For those of you that don't know what a 96-gallon cart looks like, it looks like that. So that's the size of it. So we'll get into it a little bit, but one of the things we're proposing as a possibility, if you're trying to keep costs as low as possible, you're serviced weekly with the 18-gallon bins, and we're proposing that you can move the recycling to every other week since you have a lot bigger capacity. I believe this holds 5 times more what the little 18-gallon bin holds. Recycling usually isn't stinky and doesn't create as big a mess as trash does. So every other week service works out a lot, but that's something to be up for you guys to think about and decide. Step 2 is within 2 years, we want to convert the trash pickup from rear load manual to automated side load. Now, the contract will read that we will do that. We will provide manual service for no more than 2 years. If you guys get into the program, see that it's working very well, don't want to wait 2 years, you can do it sooner. And I don't know if I can say this or not, we might be able to do it day one of the contract if you wanted to, but could we? Yeah. So went out on a limb there. So the next item is the city brush and bulk collection events. Currently, those are conducted every other month, and every other month they're every weekend of that month. We will be coordinating with city staff to make the events more routine. And the thought there is we want to provide flexibility and convenience for residents and city staff. What I'm getting at is instead of every other month, maybe it makes more sense to do them every other week of every month, just so there's not that whole month's time where there's no service at all. So it's just something we've discussed with the mayor and Nancy, but that's something I think may provide some flexibility. And then some cost-saving considerations. Number one, you might consider a quicker transition from 2-time-a-week manual trash collection to automated trash collection. That can save some money. We'll get into that on the next slide. And the second one is to decrease solid waste trash service from 2 times a week to 1 time a week when you get to the automated collection. And then last, reduce recycle collection from weekly to every other week. And there's some cost savings associated with both of those, all 3 of them. So our current offering that we propose for the first 2 years of the contract, when you would remain on manual rear load collection, you would stay with 2 times a week, 2-time-a-week collection with a limit of no more than 4 32-gallon containers, bags, or bundles, which is the equivalent of 128 gallons, which is quite a bit. The cost of that, $36.75 a month. Along with that, there would be automated residential recycling collection, which is 1 time a week collection, exactly the same as you have now, but the residents would have a 96-gallon container as opposed to the 18-gallon. There's no additional charge for that. The charge for that service is built into the $36.75. City drop-off events, we mentioned those earlier. We'll be coordinating the frequency of those events with city staff. And then we also wanted to provide an option for on-call residential brush and bulk curbside collection. So if somebody misses a weekend collection event or doesn't want to wait for the next collection event, We just put an option in there for individuals. If they want to call in for a charge, they can get us to pick that up. But we have a minimum charge of $52.50, and then that includes up to 1 cubic yard. And then each additional cubic yard or item is $52.50. So it's for convenience more than anything else. If someone misses a collection, doesn't want to wait, they have the opportunity to do that. Which takes us to, after the second year of the contract, or if you decide you want to make the change quicker, we would be looking at the automated trash conversion. So for $30.82, you would still get 2-time-a-week collection. Everyone would receive a 96-gallon residential cart. It'd be cart contents only, but this would be with the automated side load service. And then if that's not enough capacity for some folks who have bigger families or just accumulate more trash or recycling, they have the ability to get an additional 96-gallon either trash or recycling cart for $5.78 a month. And then again, included in that rate is the automated residential curbside recycling with the 96-gallon bin. And then the city drop-off events and option for on-call is the same as we discussed on the other page. Some optional items that can impact the rates, and just kind of touched on these a little bit, but we're putting some savings to those items, is if you do convert both trash and recycle to automated collection at the start of the term, that would reduce the rate by $5.93 per home per month from the manual trash collection rate, which was what, 36?
Basically the 36.75
Okay.
versus the previous one
Okay.
at 30.82.
If you reduce from 2-time-a-week trash to 1-time automated, that would reduce the rate by another $6.30 per home per month. And then if you reduced recycling to every other week from once a week, that would take another $3.52 off. So you can do one of those items, you could do two, you could do all three, you could do none. But what we do ask is that it needs to be across the board. We can't leave it up to individual residents to say, I just want every other week recycling. It's got, a decision has to be made for all of them, and they need to be the same across the board. So what it comes to is the lowest price service option, that if you reduce everything and convert to the automated, if you went with 1-time-a-week automated trash, every other week automated recycling, that's going to be $21 a month per home. Recycling's included in that rate. And then again, like I said earlier, extra carts are $5.78 each per month, no limit on those. And then city drop-off events and option for on-call stays the same. Anything I missed or
No, I think you did.
need to hit on? This is just a picture of what an automated side load truck looks like. It has the robot arm that some of them will have a Python arm that can reach out a certain distance. If someone fails to put it all the way to the curb, instead of us driving up on the grass, we can stick that arm out and grab it. It pulls it up to the truck, and you can see the little rail. It just works its way up the little rail on the side, dumps it in there, and then sets it back down. And that's a picture of a recycling cart and a trash cart at the bottom. And that is it. Any questions?
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Bill. Appreciate that. Council, before we open up to questions, a little bit of background. So, as you guys know, we received the extension when we voted on that earlier this year to extend, as our contract expired at the end of April, to extend basically 4 months through the end of July to keep our current contract going. But we do need to renegotiate a contract. much like our water company, waste collection is a no-fail business, right? We have to keep that process going. So we have as Nancy and I have talked about many a times, we have the Cadillac, right, Nancy, of waste collection. We have, twice a week for trash, once a week for recycling, with our bulk dumpsters every odd month, each weekend, and life is good. The problem is that industry, as Tom mentioned, that type of industry is going away. For safety reasons, hiring reasons, and liability, everything is going to full automation. It's not something that we have a choice about without expending a tremendous amount of money as each of us as homeowners and consumers for this. So it is something that we have to gradually transition to. Nancy and I, in our discussions with Bill and Tom, said, hey, rather than going to full automation right away and saving money for our consumers, that would be a drastic change initially. And we all know that change is bad. The more change initially, until we get used to it, it can be very frustrating. So rather than doing that, Nancy and I elected to look at options to transition into that. And through some good negotiations with Bill and Tom, what we came up with is initially transitioning to side load recycling of once a week right away with the distribution of these 96-gallon containers that are included in the fees. That would start in August. And then over 2 years, within 2 years, we would transition to automatic waste collection, trash collection. While we do that, and that's going to be up to the city and up to our residents and the feedback that we get, and up to ultimately you as the city council to vote on how quickly we make this transition. Does it take a full 2 years? Do we have enough data to suggest that we can do it sooner? While we do this, what Bill and Tom have said they would do is collect data for us, specific Garden Ridge data, to see how much recycling we're collecting once a week in these big containers, how much trash we're collecting twice a week in these big containers, and come to us with that data so that we can brief that to you to go, actually, you know what? Those containers are at best half full, or maybe a third full with recycling every week. We could make that transition based on the data to once every 2 weeks, so twice a month for recycling collection. And then based on the trash collection data, we can go, hey, council, actually once a week looks like it would be enough because those containers are not even half full. And we will track that data as we transition. The more automated we go, the more money our residents save overall. So, but Nancy and I elected not to, for lack of a better phrase, rip off the Band-Aid right away, kind of ease into that, if you will. You saw a couple other things on here, the franchise fee. That's something that is common with the cities that they work with, that they pay a 5% franchise fee to have our business as a city. One thing that's not on there and not part of the contract that we currently do, we have a franchise fee. Currently, it's 5%-ish, 4%. But we also do all of the billing combined with our water bill for Republic Services. They don't pay for that, obviously, so we have to pay for that as a city with our administrative professionals, right? So we end up having a surcharge to add to that bill to pay for our billing process. That's just common business sense. So those are some things just to explain to everybody in the audience and out there watching that we have to do as a city to pay for the billing and to make the billing happen. And that billing is combined, like I said, with our water bill and all the information you get with the grapevine and everything. So that takes hours and it takes money to do that. So we don't have to make a motion, a decision tonight, other than we need consensus to continue the process of negotiations with Republic Services to finalize this contract. Because what we need to do is have by July, or in time for July's meeting, we need to have these gentlemen back and have any amendments to the contract that you guys have proposed through either yourselves or comments from residents, so that we can have a contract set, which is an ordinance, and then approve that ordinance in July's meeting. That's the 11th of July, Tuesday after the 4th, so that we can proceed with the contract to start in August, 1 August. As far as the bulk dumpsters go, at the moment, they're going to stay as they are with odd months and Saturday and Sunday for residents only. The city is now fronting that bill. It's not something that Republic can do any longer. I know they're in a business and we're running a city, but they were taking a loss to honor that contract, which they have to do to an extent for the last 2 years to help us with the bulk dumpsters and rear loading, especially after the pandemic. So this is where the industry's going. If you talk to companies like Waste Management, we couldn't get rear load without a huge expense if they do that at all. It's all side load going on now. So Republic is willing to work with us over the next 2 years to make that transition, provide us with data so we can make an informed decision for our residents and ourselves as we go forward. And we've got, at the moment, 2 years to do that. So what I need from you guys, what we need is if we can, a consensus with a thumbs up to go, yep, continue the negotiation process. Over the next couple of weeks to lead turn our next meeting, provide Nancy feedback, so there's no Open Meetings Act issue. Provide Nancy feedback on some things that you have questions on in the proposed contract, so that she can inform me, and she and I and Tom and Bill can talk about it, and then come to you with a solid contract that we can vote on and approve a new ordinance come July. Nancy, is there anything I missed in there?
No, I think you've covered. Sorry, I think you've covered it. I think you've got it.
Okay.
Yeah.
The more automated we go, the more our costs decrease to our residents and overall to the city. So Tom and Bill, is there anything else that you need to add? Is there something that I missed from our discussions over the last few months?
No, I think you did a good job of explaining what the situation happens to be. We shared a lot of options, right? Excuse me, with the presentation here, and really that's really around trying to be as transparent about where we can go. I will assure you that the service levels, regardless of what we do, decide on, right, are still going to be superior services, right, that you've become used to. It's just going to be a different manner of receiving that, but the customer experience is going to be just like everyone is used to. Change, as Tom identified, right, and we all know change can be difficult, and we want to work with the city to ensure that we're partnering on how that communication process happens, right, whether that's the first transition we're doing now, or whether it's, hey, it's time to do all of this at a future date, whatever that happens to be. We're partners with the city in this transition. We're able to go and willing to go as quick as you want to go, or if we need the 2 years, then we'll work that with you.
You bet.
But we wanted to make available the fact that there are options there to be under consideration.
So I know there's a couple of questions that our residents have out in the audience and out there watching or watching later, and probably all of you up front here. What do we do with our old cans that we own when you deliver or the bins that we have when you deliver these recycling containers,
Yes,
when and if
that's-
the contract's approved?
That's an interesting question, right? And personally, I've been there before.
Yep.
I currently have 2 containers that I've carried with me the last 20 years from different moves or whatnot. Because I chose not to turn those back in or have them thrown away or whatever, right? I use them to store firewood. I use them to, just do things around the house. Some people don't have space for that, and that's understandable, right? And we're willing to work with the city on how that is, whether we collect them at the curb, right? Unfortunately, be a rear load truck, and we do everything we can to recycle what we collect that way. We can work something where they're brought up here and get them in bulk. But yeah, there's not an easy answer to that one. Those containers wouldn't be used in our automated system.
Okay, thank you. The next question, we talked about this at our last meeting. A lot of the residents out there tip once, twice a year, or whatever. With this automated process, what do we do if we still want to give a nice tip to those people that keep us out of squalor?
Yes, these are always interesting conversations, right? I'll tell you the time of the year that a driver never misses work is that time between Thanksgiving and Christmas, right? It's very, very obvious. Weird. They work hard at what they do, right? And, you know, our drivers are still going to be known within the communities that they service, right? That, you know, even though they're not necessarily getting out of the truck grabbing trash, they are getting out of the truck often. They're introducing themselves to the kids that are watching and making sure that they understand to be safe around our vehicles. There's relationships that are happening there, right? And they're going to do everything they can to provide that best level of service. So there are customers that want to make sure that the drivers are tipped and taken care of during those time frames. And it can be as simple as, you know, taping the whatever to the top of the container, leaving a note telling them where it happens to be. They're going to know which ones normally take care of them, right? And so I don't think that's going to be an issue. And there's no requirement, obviously, for a driver to be tipped, but just human nature, we like to do that. And it's not only during those holiday moments, right? It's when the weather's like this, leaving a cooler of Gatorade. That happens right here in this community. I think, Mayor, I told you I was in the back of a truck working with our team not too long ago, and there was a bag with a little ice in it, and it had a couple snacks and a water and a Gatorade, right? And so, you know, like every week, this
Did you
customer does this for
give them to the driver? Or did
No,
you?
they kept it from me, right? I didn't work the whole route. But yeah, so hopefully that answers the question. That's still going to be available.
You did, yeah,
opportunity available.
absolutely.
The drivers absolutely appreciate that.
Thanks,
right?
Bill.
The residents could also get those tips to me, and I'll
Okay.
disperse them.
Gotcha. Council, I'll open it up to questions. Please, Kelly.
Okay, I've got two questions here for you. So what is your drop dead date of when you guys want to eliminate the rear loaders overall for your company?
So for this, we're saying August 1 is the contract date within 2 years of that. So August 1 of '23 would be August 1 of '25.
So that's your company goal to eliminate by then?
So we're doing this on the majority of the contracts that we're renewing. We're not even providing this type of conversion option. In discussion, conversation, negotiation, that's where we landed with Gardner Ridge. So we're not purchasing new rear load trucks. As those rear load trucks kind of phase out of service, right? ASLs, as we call them, automated side load equipment, is what we're purchasing. Hopefully that answers that.
Sorry, turn it off. Any difference in the size of the trucks between the
So-
rear load and front load?
Yeah, the heights aren't any different. You know, different trucks can come in different capacities, but the overall weights are not any different from the trucks either.
Okay, I've just heard concerns from people that they're afraid that there's some cul-de-sacs in my neighborhood, our neighborhood, where they can barely make the turn in the cul-de-sac as it is, so they were a little worried about that, so.
Yeah, now, so there's going to be times where, again, safety is first, right? So, you know, our drivers are trained to ensure that they're approaching all situations, ensure one, eliminating backing to the extent that they can. But if there's a tight situation, they can get out of the truck, they can move the cart to the side of the truck and let the truck still tip that. So if it's an unsafe type situation, they know how to safely and effectively service the customer and return that cart to its
And
location.
I drove the city with Steven Steinmetz during this whole process, and he took me to the old part of town, to some of the newer subdivisions, and some of the newer subdivisions is where I was seeing some of the cul-de-sacs with the pretty tight tight turns. And we brought Bill out and our operations manager, and some of them are tight, but we're doing it now, so we can do it in our automated trucks as well.
Yeah, they may not be able to get that truck right there to be able to service that cart, but they can get out and position that cart so that it can be serviced.
Okay, thank you.
Great questions. Lisa?
Can you talk a little bit about how transitions have gone in other cities?
Tom, I'll let you take that.
Well, two cities that I feel are very similar to Garden Ridge are Chavano Park and Fair Oaks Ranch. And both of those have been converted. Now, they're a little different. Fair Oaks Ranch is automated, one time a week service with one time a week recycle. They have the 96-gallon carts. So they are very similar to the very last option that we showed up there. There's a few things about their program that are a little bit different, but for the most part, very similar to what you had before and what you are looking at going to now. Chavano Park isn't as big as Fair Oak Ranch or Garden Ridge, but it's kind of the same demographic. It has large lots, not as large as Garden Ridge, but a lot of tree canopy cover, so it's similar. They are on automated service, but they stuck with the 2-time-a-week service. So they did stay with that, and that's a choice that they made. So if you want to reach out to Mayor Maxon or Mayor Werner or Bill Hill or Carol Van Zant over in Fair Oaks Ranch, they can kind of walk you through the process that they went through. But both of those conversions have been in place for a while now. So those folks know what it was like before, and from what I know, there was very little difficulty in the transition. I don't want to make it sound like there was no issues. There were some, but it seems like in a matter of 3 weeks to a month, it's already getting down to that's how we do it now. And
Yeah, and
you
I
put the trash out.
I was going to comment on that. Every one that I've been experienced in, that's exactly what happens, right? You communicate, you kind of identify what's happening, it's change. People sometimes struggle with change. And after the first week, the calls start dropping down. The second week, it's even more. Third week, it drops even more. And then after that, it's like, why weren't we doing this all along, right? So that's the story of just about anything associated with change. And that's why it's critical that we make sure that however we communicate this, right, and educate on this, and then even if we make this decision that recycling, you got 5 times the capacity here, right? How many people are really going to, fill this up on a weekly basis, right? That might be an opportunity to go every other week, right? And we'll do that with kind of analysis of what's being collected, how many times are we emptying this thing with nothing in it, right? And reduce the number of times that truck has to come through the neighborhoods, which is always good for the streets and great for the protection of the kids and bicyclists and everyone else, right? So.
That was a great question. Thanks, Lisa. Anything else? Jesse?
A couple of questions and one comment. Right now, typically I leave most residents put their trash can in the driveway. This is going to require it to be in the curb, in front of the curb, right? Or can it still be left in the driveway?
Yeah, so as Tom identified, so we want to be as close to the street.
Close to the
right?
street. So I put it right there
You can
at
put
the
it
edge of
on
the
the
curb.
driveway, at the end of the
Driveway,
driveway,
okay.
by the street. The arm will come out and be
Okay.
able to get that. Now they're going to watch for mailboxes, they're going to watch for other things. to
Yeah,
make
don't
sure
put
that-
anybody nearby, yeah.
Yeah, to make
My
sure that
neighbor
they're not
does.
hitting anything else.
Yeah,
But, yes,
okay.
as long as it's close to the street. they
Okay,
can
that's
have
good,
it.
okay. The other question is concerning the trash can. A lot of residents have those 96-gallon trash cans already.
Yep.
Can they use those, or you have to use these?
No, they'll have to use
The-
our
the-
containers, and that, the mayor and I have had some
That discussion,
conversations
okay.
around what do we do there, right?
Yeah.
And that's not always an easy one to
Right,
answer,
right, but you gotta be
right?
consistent, yeah. Comment, just for everybody else, I've been here 14 years, but I lived in Victoria, and 2 years before we moved here, the city of Victoria converted. And it was a quick change. When the city decided, it was done within 3 months. And, it was done. It went well. Didn't see any problems. They're just communicating with the residents. And we also went from twice a week pickup to once a week. Same thing with recycle. So it's just a matter of communicating with people and let them know. I think the reduced rates will be an incentive to convert faster. So those are my 2 cents. But anyway, that went real well, and that was, like I said, so I've been here 14 years, so it was like 16 years ago that city of Victoria changed, so, yeah.
Thanks, Jesse. Great comments. Todd?
Well, you kind of answered my question in talking to Jesse. Some of the properties we have don't have a curb. My fence is 6 inches off the edge of Bat Cave Road, and the driveway's not very wide, but I think it'll work based on what you told Jesse here, so I think we'll be okay there. There's only a few of us that would be in that boat anyway. And I'll give you my input and thought on this. Let's just do it. Tear the Band-Aid off. That's my thought. I cringe every time I see the trash guys out on Bat Cave, because people have a habit of, I can't use the terminology in public, of how they drive down Bat Cave sometimes, and these guys are out here walking across the road, coming out from behind trucks, and people are flying at Bat Cave over the speed limit. Let's get that helper out of the way before one of them gets squished. I don't want that. So let's, I'd go zoom. Let's just tear the Band-Aid off 1 August, bring me the automated stuff, you can come to my house.
All right. Thanks, Todd. Kay?
Yeah, I have some other little questions, but that I think possibly Nancy and yourself could answer at some point. But to these gentlemen, essentially, would the routes remain the same as far as we know, or, okay? And the cans do belong to you guys?
They do.
Okay, and,
Real quick, let me come back to the first one, right? So
Okay.
the routes remain the same. They're gonna stay the same if, for the first option we're throwing
Correct.
out there, right? The 2
right,
time
if
a
it's
week
what
and
we
the
have
1
now,
time a
if it,
week
yeah,
recycle.
if
Yeah, they will stay the
it's
same.
cyclical, that.
If we go to every
Once
other
a-
week
yeah.
recycle, right, or if we go to once a week collection, we'll have to rebalance so that that it makes sense. But I want to
Okay.
clarify that.
Could you give me an example, please, of bulky? You mentioned in one of your quotes about bulky pickup. I mean, I know what bulky means for the recycling that we used to do, or we do now up at City Hall. I mean, would that include, if, I don't have a mattress, but if a person had a mattress, that would be
Large
acceptable?
item that wouldn't fit.
Washer, dryer.
So you could
White
do,
goods,
so you
yeah.
could do the heavy duty for that extra
that
fee and
extra
so on? Okay. And also, big picture, I think it may be on your website, to be honest. I thought of it this evening, I did not look. If you have a list of appropriate recycling, because I know that does change from time to time. Our library did a great presentation several years ago. A gentleman came in and spoke about what is acceptable, and I know it's, it's sort of a fluid industry, so if you're able to provide that to us, and I think when we do transition, I think it would be helpful to put that definition possibly in a future water bill.
We can also, one of the things that's quite common is when we're distributing the new containers.
Right,
we'll
tape it to the
attach
top or
that
something?
To the cart as well, so that folks know that. And one of the things we find, right, when we convert from that 18-gallon bin to the 96-gallon cart, the quantity that's being recycled does increase, right? A lot of folks feel like there's a limitation once they hit the top of this bin, right? Wind might blow
Not
things
me.
or whatever, so don't put it in there. So more items start to get recycled because the capacity is there, right? And yeah, we want to make sure that people are recycling right as opposed to wish cycling, because a lot of that happens, and there's, that starts to create some contamination issues that take away the value of the commodity,
value,
if you will, right?
right.
So education, again, it comes right to having the knowledge, the right knowledge to the right people, and we even do programs that will educate in the school. The kids are usually the best. Once the kid learns about it, recycling, they're relentless at the house about it, right? So we
They
want to make
police
sure
it.
that that's happening, right? Yeah.
Okay. I think anything else I have I can address with Nancy or Rob? Thank you.
For the
Thanks,
most
Kay.
part,
Those
the
are great.
items that you're recycling now will be
I beg
the
your pardon?
same. For the most part, the items that you're recycling now in the 18-gallon bins will be the same ones that you.
Right, but
that
there are
you're
a few,
using.
like I've been told, differing things about, say, styrofoam. The old-fashioned, it pops and flies everywhere, it's static, cling, is not acceptable, but the press styrofoam is, so just some clarification.
Yeah, we'll put some pictures. or
Yeah,
whatever.
examples or what have you.
Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, I can get some information, Nancy, and
Yeah,
put it on
sure.
on your own website, and we can have literature we can send out or make
Sure.
available. But
Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kay. Great comments. Jesse, you have a follow-up?
A comment on the recycling. My recycling increased only because instead of putting it outside, I bring it up here on Tuesdays to Comal County recycling. Because they're usually bigger boxes, cardboard. With the 96 container, I can put them in there. I can cut them up and put them in there.
The
So
Amazon effect works really well inside
So,
these 96
and
count.
I tell you, my recycling increased just for that reason. And actually less effort for
Easier
mine.
for you.
Yeah, easier for me too,
So
so.
lug it
yep.
up here.
You have a truck.
Thanks, Jesse. Any other comments, council, or questions? All right, we thank you for your presentation, Bill and Tom. Thanks so much. What I will say to people in the audience and people watching, either tonight or later on, everybody with very few exceptions in this audience has my contact information. I would love to get your opinion of this so that we can act on that, so we get that information, your feedback from this presentation tonight, so you let us know what you think about it. Council, if you have any comments, like I said before, funnel them through Nancy. Nancy will give them to me. I will funnel any comments that I get from our residents to all of you through Nancy, and we can come up with get that information out there so we can modify the contract as needed prior to going public with it in July. So with that, can I get a consensus to keep the contract negotiations with Republic Services on the city's behalf from Nancy and I to keep going? Can I get a thumbs up? Kelly, everybody thumbs up. Okay, Marissa, Nancy, does that suffice? Unanimous thumbs up? Gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to First Friday, by the way. That was great.
Hope that was good evening. Thank you.
Okay. That concludes item number 9I. We'll move back to item number 6, staff reports, and go straight with 6A, city manager monthly activity report. It says city manager on there, Nancy. The floor is yours, General.
I have quite a few items tonight. First thing I want to do is introduce Robin Achu. She is our new finance HR director. I don't believe everybody has had the opportunity to meet her. She's in the process of training with Karen, learning all she can before Karen moves to Florida. She's doing a great job. And please, when you have an opportunity, come by and introduce yourself and sit down and get to know Robin. Okay. We received, or actually, the city secretary's office, Marissa and her staff, received a congratulations note from the Alamo Chapter Compassion Committee celebrating their receipt of the Municipal Clerk's Office Achievement and Excellence Award. And I would like to add something on to that. I was a city secretary for many years before I took this position, and I know a lot of city secretaries, but I will say that I do believe that the Garden Ridge City Secretary's office is probably one of the most efficient and professional city secretary's offices in the state of Texas, and possibly the United States. Okay, I will move on with my report. We have one employee anniversary for the month of June. Okay, volunteer hours for the month of May, 50 hours from the Parks Committee, 10 hours for bill stuffing, 160 hours for the library, 34 for the Adopt the Highway program totaling 254 volunteer hours here in the city of Garden Ridge. I've got lots of notes. Okay, there will not be a First Friday during the month of July. Employees are going to be celebrating their 4th of July holiday on Friday, July the 7th, because they will be working on July 4th. Remember, City Council meeting has been moved to that second Tuesday in July. The city is also in the process of doing a walkability survey and study with Alamo Area Metropolitan Planning Organization. And there's been several activities that are involved in that study. And on June 6th, city employees and AMPO personnel did a walkability audit here in Garden Ridge. On June the 10th, they had a booth at Market Day to get input on the walkability of in Garden Ridge. And on June 27th, there will be a walkability community workshop at the community center at from 6 to 8 p.m. And I'm sure Councilman Valdez will have some more that he wants to add to that. I also wanted to let everybody know, you've probably seen a lot of tree trimming going on in Garden Ridge. Although trimming of oaks is prohibited until July 1st. The trimming is being done by CPS contractors. They are removing the tree canopies, the branches that are entwined in the electrical power lines in the areas that have sustained power outages due to ice storms, windstorms, thunderstorms. So that is what is going on. Our ordinance does allow trimming for safety, for personal, for your residents or for you personally. So we consider that to be a part of that part of the ordinance. PD has been monitoring and spoken with the crews several times about making sure that winds are being painted. Also, in your packet, you have your budget and tax rate schedules. There are two of them. The first one is if we are able to file the city budget with the city secretary on our first work session proposed for July 17th. The second one is if we have to have two work sessions and the budget is filed with city secretary on July 25th. I've tried to put as much as I possibly can into our regular council meetings that we have to complete during this process. So therefore, we should only have one special council meeting in August, with all final work done on the tax rate in our regular meeting in September. And if you have any questions, that's all I had for my my report to council this evening.
Thank you so much, Nancy. Council, any questions for our city manager? Okay?
Yeah, I certainly don't oppose the trimming and so on for safety and all that, but could it, I don't know how much difference it would make to wait 2 weeks, so to speak. So there's a little less concern for the for the residents, to why that's being allowed, because I know they are everywhere. And I'm glad that PD is watching the painting, because I've not seen any of that happen. I'm going up and down Batcave a lot, and I'm not seeing painting. So I'm just wondering, and of course, I've had a couple people reach out to me to ask what the heck's going on, as I'm sure everyone has. And I can only tell them that CPS is not obligated to tell us when it's this when it's emergency or service work like this, that if they're doing, so I understand it, if they're doing routine maintenance, then they do notify the city, and we have an obligation to let the residents know. But I think a lot of residents are blindsided about this particular, what they're doing right now. I know they're not done.
Yeah, they're not done. I have the same feelings and comments. I haven't seen any wound painting yet, so from yesterday and today. So that's something that I brought up to Nancy and Nancy to the chief, so to go and talk about that. In our ordinance 71, they can do this, right? So, but yeah, it would have been nice to wait a couple weeks. It's a CPS contract, and we have safety and power lines to consider with our big storms that we've had. So it's one of those where, and I wish we could wait 2 weeks, and I wish they would paint all the wounds, right? So that we do as much oak wilt prevention as possible.
If we can establish that something was not painted and that area develops brand-new oak wilt, whose liability is it?
So that's a good question. I don't know. Chief's gonna make sure that we're talking to the crews, and we'll go from there.
And the only thing we've seen them not painting, they're only painting oaks. They're not required to paint any others.
Yeah.
So we have been spot checking.
I've seen plenty of oaks that weren't painted, just on my way home this afternoon from the city. So maybe they're gonna go back and do those.
It's too late.
Yeah, I know.
I will make a call to our representative and voice our concern about making sure that those crews are painting
Thank you.
their wounds. I will do that tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
I was going to mention it to Melissa today. She was not there.
Thank you, Kay. Anybody else? All right. Nancy, thanks so much. On to 6B, Finance HR, Monthly Activity Report. Robin, welcome. The hardest part of this is getting that microphone to turn on. There you go. Good job. You're hired.
All right.
Floor is yours.
Well, like Nancy said, thank you so much for your welcome. Just like Nancy said, I am our new hire. So I've been training with Karen Ford to get up to date on the accounting and the financials. And as you have in your packet this evening, we've put together the amended 2023 budget for your approval. And then we are also working on the 2024 budget. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Council, anything for Robin? We've had a couple meetings together, myself, Nancy, and Robin, talking about the budget amendments, and we are in good hands. So welcome aboard. It's good to have you here.
Thank you.
All right, on to item number 6C, City Secretary Monthly Activity Report. Marissa, welcome back. Floor is yours.
Thank you. Before I say anything about my report, you talked about the agenda saying city manager. Did you by any chance notice your nameplate? Oh, you're welcome. Just had to make my report a little longer because I really don't have much to say this month. So we do have a couple upcoming holidays. City Hall will be closed on Monday, June 19th. Obviously on Tuesday, July 4th, even though everyone will be working, City Hall is just closed that day because we'll all be at the park. And then we'll also be closed on Friday, July 7th. And then as Nancy mentioned earlier, due to the July 4th celebration and the city holiday, the July City Council meeting has been rescheduled to Tuesday, July 11th at 6 p.m. And that is all I have this month on my report.
Thank you so much, Marissa. Thanks for coming back from Utah, the heat of Texas. Council, anything for our city secretary? Outstanding. Moving on to the chief, 6D, Police Department. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, sir. Everything I've got is pretty much in the report. The only thing I'd like to add is a reminder that June the 24th is our 5th annual pancake breakfast down at the park. So anybody that wants to come down and have some pancakes, fire department, police department, be down there. And hopefully everything that we raise down there is for the Children's Advocacy Center. So everything goes straight to them. We're trying to hit a little bit bigger goal this year than we did the last few years. And I have one off-the-wall request other than this. I happen to know we're going to look at the bid contract later. Can you call an audible and move that up so they don't have to wait till after the public
100%.
hearings for everything.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Just thought I
You
would
want me
take
to
this
call the
up.
audible right now?
No,
Okay.
Whenever, so I'll just, so they don't have to sit here until after all the public hearings.
You bet. Let's call the audible right now. So Omaha, someone's laughing at that, right? Okay, we're gonna go quickly to item number 9B, bid award for record service and vehicle storage. Chief, the floor is still yours.
So we posted for our upcoming tow contract to be expiring. We have been doing it every 3 years. It is time-consuming. We publish it, we wait, we post it, we take bids, we do inspections. So this year, we had only one company that answered our bid, but don't worry, because it's the company we've been using. We've been having fantastic service with Johnny's. I did do their inspection. They have spots secured for us just for our city down in their lot. I've never had an issue with Johnny's. Whenever we have something come up, they treat the city very well. So I am recommending that we accept that bid from Johnny's Wrecker Service. All of the terms are in your paperwork there as far as, you'll notice we are getting a larger percentage of impound fees now instead of, went up from $10 to like $50 per vehicle, just based on inflation. We haven't done this in quite a few years. I would like to ask that instead of doing it every 3, we take a look at maybe doing it for a 5-year contract. It's something that I talked to Cynthia about, and she said it's fine as long as y'all are good with that, they're good with that. We can do a 5-year. There is nothing restricting us to a shorter term. It saves a lot of time and energy down the road. If we're happy with our tow company, instead of having to do it every couple of years, let's get one on the books for 5 years.
Thanks, Chief. Council, any questions for Chief on this contract? So Chief, Marissa, Nancy, what we need is a motion to approve the contract. And do we need to say recommend contract for 5 years if the council is good for that? Yeah. Charlie, anything with that? Good? Okay.
And name the name of the company.
All right, so name the name of the company and say approve the contract for a 5-year term. With that, if there's no other discussion, can I get a motion to approve?
I move to approve the contract presented by Johnny's Wrecker Service for a period of 5 years.
We have a motion to approve Johnny's Wrecker Service for 5 years in the contract. Do I have a second?
Second.
Going to have to go with Todd on that one. We have a second. He wants louder. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 5-year contract with Johnny's Wrecker Service.
Thank you. And that's
Sir.
it. And that's everything I have for all of my my
Okay.
reports.
Council, anything for the chief? All right. Back to item number 6E, Public Works Department Monthly Activity Report. Stephen, the floor is yours, sir.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the month of May, we recorded 4.5 inches of rain at the Public Works shop. The Public Works Department completed 549 work orders, removed 75 pounds of trash from the right-of-ways. We auctioned off several of our old junked vehicles and equipment that no longer ran, about totaling $18,000. We've scheduled software upgrades for the City Hall's air conditioning and heating system. For Oakville, we met with the contractor to review proposed trenches. When we met with the contractor, he proposed an alternate trench from what the Forestry Service had mapped out. So we had to wait for him and the Forestry Service to get together and find out if they wanted to do that or not. Forestry Service doesn't want to go that route, so we're going to start processing, get ready to get the trench started. One of the reasons it took so long to get the trench started because we had to locate a whole bunch of 5 different contractors, 2 of which didn't even want to touch this one. The other 2 never called back. Ryan Ferguson, Manuel Troncoso, and Andrew Klein attended equipment safety training this month. Eric Lohman attended a chemical handling class. Bulk dumpsters will be back in July, starting on the 8th and 9th instead of the 1st and 2nd. We had 42 animal calls, 8 of which were wild hogs that we trapped. Currently, we have 3 dogs, 1 puppy, and 3 cats. The current dog up there is the only one ready for adoption. That's all I have for the Public Works.
Thank you, Stephen. Busy month for Public Works. Council, anything for Stephen for Public Works for this portion?
Yeah, I just want to thank,
Jesse.
again, Public Works for picking up all that trash on the right-of-ways. I've seen a lot more brush, on the roads, during brush months, that cleared up for a while, but it came back. So I know Courtney's been putting articles in the Grapevine about that, so I appreciate that. So, thank you.
That's huge. Thanks so much, Jesse, for mentioning that. And Stephen, we greatly appreciate that. And council, did you notice that we got $6,802 for putt-putt?
Yeah.
That's huge, right? Blew me away. So, and great job selling off old equipment, $18,000, Stephen. That's huge. That goes into our amended budget. That's huge, huge, huge. So, thanks so much. Sir, you can continue.
Okay. For the month of May, for the Utilities Department, we completed 347 work orders. 35.91 acre feet of the Edwards Aquifer was pumped, totaling 70.1 for the year to date, with leftover acre feet of 490.45. We pumped 28.64 acre feet from the Trinity with a year to date of 294.62. All required monthly water samples passed. Water loss dropped to 1.8% in May. We believe the water loss dropped in May due to us finding and repairing a good-sized leak on Park Lane. That probably went undetected for a while, and catching a few people hooking up to the fire hydrants illegally this month. Stage 2 restriction alerts for May was 424, down 45 from April. Currently, we're in the process of repairing a motor and soft start for a booster pump at our 2252 well site. Last week, the pump failed to start, and after the electrician had looked at it, he discovered that the motor was bad and that it needed a new soft start. The booster pump should be back in service by this Friday. That's all I have for utilities.
Thank you, Stephen. Council, to my right, Jesse.
I have something. Yeah, it's great to see that unaccountable water loss down to 1.8%. I'm glad you found that leak. That's really great. I was wondering if it was an error to begin with, but I appreciate you already making that comment on that. And on that motor, we talked about that motor as far as looking at what future preventions for that. And I know you said you're working on whether you need a lightning rod or something else to protect that from there. So I appreciate that. Looks like the Edwards is maintaining high, 647?
Yes.
10-day average, but I noticed the daily runs is dropping because of lack of rain. So we just keep an eye. I appreciate all the work you and Dwayne are doing to monitor, keeping the balance between Edwards and that, to be sure we use the Edwards as it is. So good job there. So that's all I have. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Jesse. Anybody else? Council, one of the things that Stephen and Dwayne are doing, and then keeping myself, Jesse, Nancy, and Jim Mueller, the chairman of our Water Commission, informed of, is looking at our daily usage and weekly usage out of the Edwards and the Trinity, what we have left as far as our acre feet for the year, and managing that so that we have enough left at the end of the calendar year to continue pulling out, but not too much left out of the Edwards. So he's managing that on a daily and weekly basis, and we appreciate that, just to make council aware of that. Thanks, Stephen. All right, moving on to item number 6F, Library Monthly Activity Report. Linda, floor is yours. Good to see you as always.
It's on. Oh, thank you. Good evening. Well, the hunt still is going on for a replacement for Patricia Ann. We're not even getting a whole lot of interest in the position, I'm sad to say. A few have shown interest and haven't worked out for whatever reason. Because of that void, I'm having to cut out some activities, and some of them were already on the city calendar, and I just had to try to get word out through Facebook or emails. And so it's not that I don't know what I'm doing exactly, but we're just doing the best that we can under the circumstances. And some of our very favorite things are going to get cut out this summer, like the stuffed animal sleepover, which has been a popular thing for years. Anyway, I do have wonderful volunteers, but you just can't ask some of them to stay up till midnight taking pictures of little stuffed animals and doing personalized books all night. But I did have some wonderful help from my volunteers last Thursday for the summer reading kickoff. We had 2 bounce houses and some outdoor games, but that was all inside the community center. It was so loud in there. We had 194 attend, mostly kiddos, and one volunteer said, "I'm taking my hearing aids out," because it was loud. Our ears were ringing for a good little while afterward, but the main thing is they're reading, we hope. That's the important thing. Afterward, I did make some sandwiches out of Costco chicken salad, and my husband, Honey, made some homemade ice cream, so it was just a little treat. As Rosegale announced, we have the Friends of the Garden Ridge Library reception on Tuesday. I think there's a little picture of that invitation, so it will be indelibly placed in your brain. Anyway, because I did send it, I did. Invitation. I'll be through talking about it by the time it gets out here. We just want to invite you to come and, have some hors d'oeuvres and look around a little bit at the library. The Friends group is kicking up, reviving, and so they're very interested in working with us. And another important date to remember, I have that too, is tomorrow at noon. It's a lunch and learn. It's part of our Live Well series on memory loss with aging, normal or abnormal. In case you've wondered, or if you have a loved one you're wondering about, this could answer your questions, or maybe not. It's being led by Dr. Pam Camosi, and it takes place at noon. My advice is, don't forget this. And a hint, write it down. So I hope to see whoever's watching who might need this. Do you have any questions for the library?
I don't remember what you just said, but I don't have any questions. Council. Jesse? Okay.
Yeah, I would recommend that everyone attend this from 5 to 7, and then walk up the hill to our walkability thing.
Yes,
Yeah, I think that'd be terrific.
that's a perfect suggestion.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Outstanding. Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Linda. Moving on to item number 7, City Engineer Project Status Reports. Sam Johnson, sir, the floor is yours. Always a pleasure to see you. We have some stuff to talk about tonight.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Good evening. So the only thing I want to add to the report is for the 2252 project. And I want to start by saying the notice to proceed has been issued to the contractor, so they have the right to go ahead and get started with the construction or the relocation of the water line. There's several issues. At the moment at Tonkawa Pass, there are 2 trees that are in the alignment of the water main that we're going to be putting in. One is a fairly small tree, and the other one is a little more mature. The trees are right in line, and actually the bigger tree is actually over your existing 12-inch or 8-inch water line that's running perpendicular to 2252. So that can pose an issue in the future for Stephen. If the roots continue to grow and hit the water line, then you have a main break currently. So there are several options to address this. Either remove the tree which, it would kind of save time and money just to get it out of the way. There are other trees in the area, and let me back up. The tree is not on Garden Ridge properties in the TxDOT right-of-way. TxDOT technically should be making this decision, but they asked the city to make the decision for them and proceed. So the tree is not on city property, it is in the right-of-way, but it's in a way, so it either needs to be removed. Option 2 is for us to redesign around the tree, but it doesn't take away the fact that it's still over your existing water line. And then another option is kind of option 1A, is to remove the tree and plant another one somewhere else in the city to accommodate. There was one customer that was pretty vocal about the tree being removed. So yeah, I actually talked to this person and kind of explained what was going on, try to calm them down a little bit, but those are the options we have. If we have to redesign, it's like a $15,000 price tag to redesign, and it may be more because we have to submit that to the contract, and he has to tell us how much it's going to cost to get the material, the time and effort to, redesign or rebuild or build this additional infrastructure, because we're going to have to extend another line to bypass the tree and connect to the existing line and abandon what's there. So those are the options for the tree. And also to add to that, there are other utilities that are going to be impacting trees along this entire corridor. And this is not going to be the only spot where trees are going to be in conflict with the utilities. I know for a fact the gas line is going to most likely directionally drill under the trees, but that can damage the root systems and the trees may die. So you're not going to get out of this situation. It's going to be an ongoing thing throughout the duration of this project. So I think that's pretty much it. I mean, I think we need to kind of come to a decision tonight if possible, because if we don't if I don't get a resolution, then we have our contractor waiting. And TxDOT is pushing us to get this project going and get out of the way so they can come behind us with the road project. So the longer we make a decision, the longer or costly the cost may increase, because we have to pay the contractor for basically not doing anything. I mean, they can come back and ask for lost days and things of that nature. So a decision is needed pretty quick to kind of get this resolved.
What is pretty quick? Like no kidding days?
What's that?
Like, what is pretty quick?
Probably within the next week or so. I can have them. There's other things they can do right now that are they have about a week's worth of work they can do other than starting on the actual construction of the water line. So I can hold them off about a week, but after that, then it's going to be, they're going to be sitting there twiddling their thumbs until we give them okay.
So council, what Sam needs from us is either a consensus to proceed or a consensus majority vote to, and not a motion, but just a vote to see if there's something else that we can do and wait that week time frame to have a little bit more information. So I'll be completely honest with you. Tonight is the first time I've heard about this. Did a little bit of research into it. I've talked to the property owner. It's in a TxDOT right away. They can, it's TxDOT's right away, so they can come in and cut down the tree and not ask us about this. However, it is a beautiful, it's two trees. One of them, they're both live oak, and one of them is a pretty decent sized, beautiful live oak. And we are going to be faced with this on 2252 as the TxDOT project continues for widening. Some things we're not going to have choices on, some things we might. So once that tree is gone, those trees are gone, they're gone forever. Yeah, we can plant another tree in the city, but that one live oak is probably close to 100 years old or so, maybe a little, certainly older than 50. But
I think it's about like 40, 50
all right.
years.
So I missed it by 60 years. So, okay, but I don't know that I don't know that we have enough information at the moment because cutting down trees is not in accordance with our master land use plan. However, it's not our property. But TxDOT is giving us, because of our relationship with them and Sam's relationship with his counterparts from TxDOT, is giving us some input on this. So before we talk further, I'd like to hear what you guys have to say. I'm going to start with Kay over on the left.
Okay, well, I think, I agree with you. I think we need a little more information, because what I believe I understand about it really is more of a heritage tree. And I believe taking it out would not only affect the property aesthetically, but I think also literally air conditioning. I don't know, but if it's that close, but anyway, and I don't know that how many more, I realize, I mean, I accept that we're going to have to take out some trees, but I don't know that a number of those trees are not necessarily, at least at this point, where there are buildings already erected. They're more like in undeveloped plats and plots right now. So I don't know that it would impact, it'd be unpleasant, but I don't know that it would impact current owners as much as this might. I would prefer to have a little more information, and I do appreciate that TxDOT's given us a break. That's nice.
Thank you, Kay. Todd?
Where again is this tree?
Tonkawa Pass.
Right at Tonkawa? I got the map overhead up. I'm just trying to get an idea where it is.
It's on the left side, right in front of the sign, the business sign.
I guess my real question is wouldn't it be TxDOT's responsibility to deal with this? I know they're giving us the solid by asking us about it, but it's in the right of way.
Yes.
Is it a hazard to traffic? Is it something somebody's going to hit?
It's about 40 feet. The smaller one is closer to the right-of-way than the larger one, so it's
Okay.
about, the small one's about 40 feet from the road, Tonkawa Pass.
So not a real high likelihood of somebody bashing into it or anything crazy like that?
Right.
Okay. I mean, quite frankly, there, I think I found the overhead. The easy answer is we don't want to pay extra money to go around it. We don't want to pay money to take care of it if it's for TxDOT to deal with. That's my thought. I don't want to lose a heritage tree by any means, but is it our responsibility or is it something TxDOT should be doing?
Okay, thank you. Jesse?
Part of me is like just Todd just mentioned, I don't want to pay extra to save a tree. I know, unfortunately, expansion of roadway is gonna take some trees along the way. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen all along that whole 2252. I'm sorry. But if it's $15,000 just to redesign and you talk about additional costs, we're talking probably total pushing 40 to 50. That's to save a tree? No. It's got taxpayer money, so I'm real cautious about that. So.
Thank you, Jesse. Lisa?
I'd like more information, and I mean, generally, I am pro saving the tree if we can. We've made lots of promises about developing 2252 and maintaining the look and feel of Garden Ridge, and that includes our heritage oaks.
Thank you. Kelly?
Sam, the larger tree, is that the one over the water line?
Yes, sir.
Of course it is. There's not any way to salvage one of them without doing a reroute
We can.
or losing a pipeline?
If we redesign, we can save the larger one. The smaller one would have to go in that option, but we can save the larger tree.
Okay.
But what I was getting at, there are other utilities that are going to be coming behind us. I can't speak for them.
Right.
So,
Not everybody's going to give us the option that you guys are giving us. Okay.
Okay, so we're dealing with this now, even though 2252 expansion project's been underway for, 2 years now? And the bridge is finally done, but this is the first time that they've ventured into city limits. And this is an issue that we are going to deal with a few more times, most likely, based on your comments, Sam, right? I feel like I don't have enough information to come up with a consensus to move right now, because we're going to be dealing with this issue for the next 2 years. So what I'd like to do, what I propose, council, is to give us that week, and then sometime this week, Sam, let's get on the calendar, you, me, and Nancy, to talk about this.
Sure.
with whatever information you can bring further, and the players involved, so that we can talk about not just these two trees, but talk about what we do for the next 2 years, what our strategy is. Again, it's TxDOT's right of way, so it's not city property, but they're doing us a solid, like Todd said. So can we do that?
Sure.
You can keep them going for a week, and the three of us can meet?
Sure.
Nancy, are you good with that? Okay. All right, so we are punting for a week, and then we'll get back to you. Council, through Nancy, I will send you the information that we're looking for, okay? And then, through Nancy, perhaps come up with where we're going with this one. Does that work? Okay. Anything else, Sam?
No, that's it.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, that concludes item number 7. Moving on to item number 8, City Commission and Committee Reports, Recommendations, and Possible Actions. 8A, Planning and Zoning Commission. 8A1, petition by Eric T. Fisher for rezoning of resident agricultural, RA, district, also known as Agricultural and Agricultural Homestead, AG, district, to Neighborhood Service B1 district, also known as Community Commercial, CC, district, on a 1.707 acre tract of land out of the George M. Dolson Survey 96, Abstract 120, Comal County, Texas, and being out of a called 1.734 acre tract described in document number 2014060131330 of the official public records of Comal County, Texas. The property is located adjacent to FM 2252, south of 19295 FM 2252 in Garden Ridge, Texas. 8A1-1, receive recommendation from Planning and Zoning Commission. Hello, Karen. Always a pleasure to see you.
Good evening, everyone.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Fisher presented his petition for rezoning, as the mayor just stated, and we did have a public hearing. No one wished to speak at that public hearing, and Marissa had not received any written comments. So we moved on to discussion. And Planning and Zoning is recommending approval of the petition by Mr. Fisher for rezoning. Do you want me to read the whole thing again, or are we good?
We're okay.
Okay,
That's why I
great.
read it.
So that's our recommendation to City Council for Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Karen. Mr. Fisher, you're in the audience tonight. Do you wish to come up and say anything to the council? You just introduce yourself to everybody.
Eric Fisher, and apologize, I scratched my eye earlier today. So if it looks like I'm weakening at all, y'all, I am. I don't have much to say, just yes, I'm trying to build a small mixed-use community-type building, and we need to rezone it from community to residential, and working with General Kane, getting the information put together. We've already put together the master plan and submitted it, so I think I'll be back here winking at planning zoning tomorrow, and then hopefully with y'all get some more detailed questions for the actual build, hopefully next month. I believe that's just the process. That's it.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate that. Council, any questions for Eric before he leaves? Jesse? No questions. Okay, no? Okay, thank you so much. All right. With that, we'll go to 8A1.2, hold a public hearing. And we're going to open the public hearing at 7:39 p.m. And anybody wish to come up and speak regarding this recommendation for planning and zoning? Doesn't look like anyone's interested in coming to speak. Marissa, did you receive any written comments?
No, I did not.
Okay, if no one is speaking and no written comments, we will close the public hearing at 7:40 p.m. and move on to 1.3, discuss and take action. So council, I will open it up to discussions, starting on my right.
I'm all for it. Mr. Fisher's plan and the type of business he plans to put in is perfectly aligns with what our vision has been for 2252 and what a lot of my constituents, a lot of your constituents have been asking for. So I am all for it.
Thanks, Kelly. Lisa? No comment. Jesse?
I know the answer to this, but I want to just confirm that this rezoning meets the master land use plan,
Yes, it does.
just for the record, so thank you.
Great question, Jesse. Thanks. Todd? No comment? Kay? Sorry, no comment. Okay, with that, can I get a motion then? It sounds like to approve the recommendation from Planning and Zoning to approve the rezoning. Somebody?
Okay, I move to approve the rezoning of the parcel of land as stated from planning and zoning for Mr. Eric Fisher.
Second.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation from Planning and Zoning to approve the rezoning. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes. And we'll see you tomorrow night, right? Karen, the floor is still yours. Tell you what, I'll read this portion. Does that work?
Okay.
All right. So, number 2, petition by Guadalupe Ready Mix, care of Jeffrey L. Earl, attorney for applicant, for the issuance of a special use permit for construction and operation of a concrete batch plant on 7 1/2 acres leased out of A-671 SUR-95 East Woodruff Acres, 34.083, owned by Lehigh Hanson Materials South LLC. The property is zoned Industrial Zone Z1 District, also known as Heavy Industrial HI District, and located at 20762 FM 2252, Garden Ridge, Texas. 2.1, receive recommendation from Planning and Zoning. Karen, floor is yours.
Okay. So, the applicant was not in attendance, so our city manager, Ms. Kane, actually gave us some additional information regarding the petition that, for the issuance of the special use permit for construction and operation of the concrete batch plant. We held a public hearing. There was one citizen who made a comment, and Marissa also had one written comment. So the Planning and Zoning Commission took those into account and also picked up a discussion regarding the site plan that was, the only thing we had to go by was from March. And there were several items on that site plan that that did not comply with the regulations contained in our new Ordinance 13. Well, Ordinance 13/12/2018, I'm sorry. First of all, it was related to the maximum height of structures, screening regulations, and impervious cover regulations. So after holding all, or going over all the discussions with regard to those items that were not in compliance, Planning and Zoning recommends denial of the petition for a special use permit for construction and operation of a concrete batch plant on the 7.5 acres owned by Lehigh Hanson Materials South LLC and located at 20762 FM 2252. My understanding is we still don't have an updated site plan, do we?
The only site plan we have is the site plan that Planning and Zoning
Used.
made their recommendation based on.
All right. So we recommend denial.
Thank you, Karen. Before we go further, is there anybody present that would like to speak on behalf of Guadalupe Ready Mix concerning this special use permit? And for the record, there is nobody present to speak on behalf of Guadalupe Ready Mix for this special use permit. We'll move on to item number 2.2, hold a public hearing. We will open the public hearing at 7:45. Is there anybody that wishes to come and speak regarding this special use permit? Marissa, did we receive any written comments?
No, we did not.
Okay, doesn't look like anyone wants to come up and speak, and no written comments. We'll close the public hearing at 7:45. Moving on to item number 2.3, discuss and take action. Council, I open it up to you,
I'm ready to make a motion.
please.
I move to approve Planning and Zoning's recommendation to deny the request of a special use permit for Guadalupe Ready Mix.
We have a motion to deny the request for a special use permit from Guadalupe Ready Mix. Do we have a second?
I second the motion.
We have a second from place 3. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion passes, which upholds the recommendation from Planning and Zoning to disapprove the special use permit from Guadalupe Ready Mix. Karen, it's still your show. Any updates from your previous meeting before you head into tomorrow night?
No, I was just going to say, the only thing I had was to remind everyone that we are having our planning and zoning meeting tomorrow evening at 6 in this venue. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. Thank you, Karen. Council, I'm assuming no other further questions. Okay. Outstanding. Moving on to item number 8B, Water Commission. Mr. Mueller, Jim, pleasure. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Not a whole lot for you tonight, but for the monthly activity, not sure how many of y'all got to see the Water Commission meeting from last month. We had a pretty good discussion about AMI versus the customer portal and that accuracy that was in there. There was a perception that perhaps there might be some differences there that would be impacting our customers. We asked the city staff to take a look at it, and they did that in a very prompt manner, already got the details back to us. And after looking at all these things, the AMI system and the customer portal do match from everything that they looked at. So that's really good news, kind of what we expected there on that. I think perhaps some confusion might come on this. Sometimes on some mobile devices, when you look at this, it can be a little bit difficult to read. I find it okay on an iPad and definitely better on a desktop. In addition, when there's a possibility that could occur there where the meter does not transmit to the overall system, and that could happen for a day or two, and then what happens is all that data gets rolled up into the next day. So it might look like you have 2 days of no use and then another day with a significant amount of use, or more than you'd see that. I've got an example of that happening to me actually about a month ago, and can show you all what that looks like on the customer portal if anybody's interested. But the good news is we checked it out and all the data looks good and it looks accurate from everything that we can tell. So that was it for my monthly activity report. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Thanks so much, Jim. Council, anything for Chairman Mueller?
I'd like to add, Chairman Mueller and I were on the subcommittee that worked on this AMI system, and, it is working as it was designed. We have a delay in the readings that come through, but that's by design. But it's not we're not flying a jet, we're not operating a chemical plant. This is data that there is a lag time, and it can be up to 12 hours of lag time, but when it comes through, it comes in by the hour. So that's all we're paying, we're getting what we paid for. And it'd be too expensive to get it instantaneous readings. But when there is a lag, when it does come lump sum, it's because we had a problem failure. We did have a lightning strike, right, Stephen, that affected the collector, and we lost data. We didn't get data for a while, so when you did get it, when you got everything back up, you did get it in one number. But that happens, irregularly. Yeah, we talked about a second antenna, and a second antenna would help in the ones that are further away, maybe increase battery life, things like that, but it's not the lag time will still be there. So just want to clarify, just want to reinforce that, yeah, it is working as designed, and we're getting what we paid for. So thank you for all the work the city staff. Michelle did an excellent job, and, and the research on there, so thank you.
Those great comments. Thank you so much, Jesse. Todd? Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Great to see you. Moves us on to 8C, Parks Committee. One of the more busy people in the city of Garden Ridge right now, busy committees. As we get ready for our annual 4th of July celebration and parade. Rod, it's great to see you. Floor is yours, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thanks for the opportunity. Our last general membership meeting was held on May 10th, and our next general meeting will be this coming Wednesday, tomorrow, June 14th at 9 o'clock in the morning. It'll be held at Paul Davis Park because that's going to be a work on the park meeting. And additionally, we have been holding weekly planning and/or working meetings since May to set up for the city's upcoming 4th of July celebration. So what's our focus been the last 30 days? Well, it's been prepping our city's 47th 4th of July parade. And it all started back in 1976. After today's update, we are T-minus 20 days and counting. Prepping includes inspection of Paul Davis Park, planning and coordination with City Hall, the Community Center, City Library, Public Works, and PD, as well as other major voluntary contributors such as GRCPAA and the Lions Club. Communication's also been a key component of our master plan, working both outside the City Hall and inside City Hall. The following communications has or is going to take place. First, outside of the City Hall. Working with the publisher and photographer of the Scroll Garden Ridge magazine, Debbie Weber, June's issue had a save-the-date half-page ad. In July's issue is being mailed to every resident in Garden Ridge in late June, has a 2-page article promoting the 4th of July celebration. Just before the meeting, I provided the city secretary with a sneak preview hard copy, which you should have gotten a copy of, that you can read at your pleasure. Just it's coming down, it's coming quick. Important to note is the communication was donated by Debbie Weber to our city at no cost. So special thanks to Debbie and her magazine for doing this. And inside City Hall, we have leveraged the Assistant City Secretary's expertise on several communication pieces, updates within the city website, 2-sided full-page flyer, which was mailed in last month's water bill, an article in the city's Grapevine newsletter, followed up with upcoming postings on the city's marquee sign. So what's new is some key information we'd like to make sure that everyone's aware of. The first thing is getting the park ready for the 4th of July. The park will be closed on July the 3rd. The parking lot of Paul Davis Park will be closed. The kids can still use the playground area accordingly from that side. When? Well, it's the 4th of July. That's when we're going to hold this. Where? It'll be at our flagship, Paul Davis Park. And on-site parking is available through the park at the rear of Paul Davis Park off of Blazing Star, and that'll be managed by PD and GRCPAA from that side. And I appreciate their assistance on that. Start time will be 9 a.m. sharp, and depend upon the heat, we should end around 1 p.m., somewhere in that area. Special guest invocation would be by Pastor Robert Denard, Revelation Church. The Raising of the Flag by Garden Ridge Cub Scout Pack 828. Singing of our national anthem would be by Mr. Raul Valdez, choir director of Bracken United Methodist Church. And Councilman Valdez, I'll ask if it's a family member or not later. Okay, just checking. And there will be an honorary appearance, but I'll let the mayor address that to the audience. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, 9:30, we got a flyby with 4 jets from Randolph Air Force Base, 2 from the 435th Fighter Training Squadron, Mild Squadron, and 2 from the 560th Flight Training Squadron. They're going to go south to north at 500 feet AGL above the ground at 9:30 in the morning. So we will work our festivities to be done in time that we can move out from underneath the pavilion and get out to see as best we can the flyby, and then the parade starts right after that. So
That's cool.
Thank the United States Air Force and celebrate the sound of freedom.
Thank you for that. That is really cool. I don't know of too many communities that are doing that. It's pretty outstanding. So now some great stuff. So our ever popular activities are back for the 4th of July. The neighborhood 4th of July parade under the supervision of the GRC, excuse me, I should say under the City of Garden Ridge PD and GRC PAA. 2 large water slides courtesy of Audi North Park. The cooling off pools for the very young. The face painting, we will have a second painter this year to go ahead and help make the lines a little bit shorter. Run the bases at the baseball diamond. The trail ride courtesy of the Lions Club, soccer field, basketball court, gaga ball pit, and the most patriotic costume judging ages 12 and younger courtesy of City Hall, and our second annual dinosaur race courtesy of Weber Auto Works. You had to see that last year to really appreciate it. And most importantly, an opportunity to see your neighbors, meet new people, and have a great time. Additionally, you're going to have representatives from the Friends of Garden Ridge Library, Scout Troop 828, and Danville PTSA. So I encourage you to stop by to say hi and see what they're doing to help our community grow from that area. Looking forward to their participation. Next is Best in Texas Eats, prepared by our very own GRCPAA team under the direction of Chef Rod Apar. Hamburgers that will excite your taste buds, hot dogs that will make you think you're going to the World Series, and ice cold drinks and refreshing water, and plenty of water for the hot day. Lemonade and other drinks provided by Weber Auto Works, ice cream by Korea Realty Group, and watermelons sliced up and served by Veterinaire. And our sponsors for this year's contribution are Audi North Park, Veterinaire, Weber Auto Works, Korea Realty Group, GRC PAA, Lions Club, and if you have an opportunity, please thank them for their contribution and their support they give to our community, because we could not do this without their support. And next thing is what we're going to focus on for the next 90 days after July 5th is rest and relaxation. Already queued up. So if anyone does have a question or suggestions regarding the parks, or wish to help give us a helping hand, you can reach us at gardenridgeparks@gmail.com. Always looking for volunteers. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes my update. It's back to you and to the council for questions.
Thanks so much, Rod. We appreciate all of your hard work from you and everybody, your tri-chairs and everybody else on the committee and all of our volunteers. We couldn't do it without you. So thanks so much. Can't wait. Council, anything for Rod? All right, thanks so much. We can't wait, Rod. Sound of freedom. All right, on to item number 9, approvals and authorizations. The following items are for discussion, consideration, and action. 9A, petition by Scott Stewart for a variance to ordinance number 22-022-020, Section 4, through truck traffic regulations to allow access onto property located at 23355 Bat Cave Road. Is Mr. Stewart in the audience tonight? Nancy, can you elaborate and give us some background on this for council discussion?
Apparently, Mr. Stewart operates or owns Paradise Landscape. Their location is located at the Bat Cave address that's in the agenda. And it is, when you go down 3009 towards the caverns, you turn left on Bat Cave Road, you go down Bat Cave, and you come to the big turn in the road. Apparently, the property is located in that, right directly across from that curve. And he claims that it is unsafe to move his large vehicles and trailers into that property. So he would like to request a waiver to ordinance 22 to be allowed to drive his trucks through Garden Ridge so he has safe passage in and out of his property on Bat Cave Road. I know that he has spoken with Chief. Chief, you want to elaborate? Any additional information I've missed?
So basically, his property's right there in the 90. He claims that if he comes from, if his vehicles come from 3009, they have to go into oncoming traffic or make a right turn into his property. Thank you. So I had already recommended to him, since his business is outside the city of Garden Ridge, I recommended that he contact the county and see if the county could post signs approaching from both directions about a blind curve or trucks entering roadway, something like that. Asked him to reach out to the county. He didn't seem like he really wanted to do that. The only alternative he had for me was he wanted me to override the ordinance and allow him to drive on Bat Cave. I said, no, won't happen. I said, I don't have that authority. It needs to go to council for a variance. I am not in favor of the variance, if you're asking for my opinion, because people that are out there driving on Benzile and these other companies that are in the area, they don't know who has a variance and who not. It's one of those, they're doing it, I'm gonna do it. I don't think we should make an exception for one. Might feel different if they lived in the city, or if their business was actually in the city, they'd be covered by our ordinance and be allowed to do it. But they are outside. I've offered other avenues for him to pursue through the county, the people that have the jurisdiction there. So unless there's something else, I don't recommend we do that.
Thanks, Chief. That's great input. Anything else, and/or Nancy?
I do agree with Chief that if we grant a waiver for this, we've got other entities that would like to be able to traverse, their trucks through Garden Ridge, so they can have easier access to 2252 or 3009. And why would we have no through truck traffic in our ordinance if we're going to grant waivers to that?
Thank you, Nancy. Council, before I speak on this, I'd like to hear from you. Floor is open.
I guess I get to speak about this one. I know Scott. I've known him for a number of years. His twins are the same age as my youngest. They played soccer together, all that. So he approached me with this, a good month or so ago. In particular, it's his 18-wheeler, his 20-yard gravel truck that he can't get in and out of there very well. That's really the only one that he's concerned about, and he's worried about going head-to-head with somebody coming around that corner. So there's a little bit of a safety aspect to it. That said, he's not in the city. The county should respond to this, and maybe this is something that we could help him with, to go out and reach out to Scott or somebody at the county to actually maybe try to be a little bit responsive to requests of the city of Garden Ridge rather than ignoring us. This is just another example of unfortunately, the county commissioner's court and whatnot not wanting to acknowledge that Garden Ridge exists and listen to us or do anything else for us. So if it sounds like I'm trying to pick a little bit of a fight about that, I am. Maybe Scott's watching. I'm very torn because I don't want trucks driving through it. I live on Bat Cave. I don't want them going by my house. Unnecessarily, all those kind of things. That road is narrow. It's got no shoulders. It's got no sight lines. It's got no nothing on it, which is part of the problem with Scott trying to get his truck back into his business back there because he can't make that corner. It just can't. I've been there and watched him try to get in there. You can't do it with the 18-wheeler. You got to go all the way over into the other lane and then turn in to make it work. So my input would be is I don't see how we can vary it for him and not everybody else, but we need to help him. It does impact us. It is a local business. He does a lot of business with folks that live in the city of Garden Ridge. So if we could try to get the county to be a little bit more responsive, that might be an avenue.
Thanks, Todd. Okay? No? All right, so my input. Todd, thank you. I agree with the chief and Nancy's recommendation to deny this request for variance for the reasons that they stated, and Todd actually stated that if we grant it for Mr. Stewart, then we don't have a leg to stand on to deny it to anybody else. So, however, I would like to, depending on how this goes, I would like to extend to Mr. Stewart to work with you, Todd, and getting a hold of someone in the county to perhaps alleviate this situation for him. So that's my input. Council, anything else? We do need to act on this, so if there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to either approve the request for variance or to deny it?
I make a motion to deny the petition request from Scott Stewart for a variance on ordinance 22-02-2020, section 4, through truck traffic.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the request for variance by Scott Stewart. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion to deny the request and a second. Any further discussion? I'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the motion to deny the request for variance passes unanimously. Thanks for the inputs, Todd. Moving on to item number 9B, we've already taken care of that, and now moving on to item number 9C. And 9C, D, E, and F are all related to the budget amendment. So we mentioned earlier in the council meeting that myself and Nancy and Robin have met about had a great meeting about the amended budget for this fiscal year, what we have left remaining, and where we can allocate some different funds. That meeting went extremely well. Again, as you know, all of you know, we have a very efficient and lean budget in the city of Gardner Ridge. And fiscal year 2023 is a little over $5 million to make everything happen. And again, that's revenue that we get ad valorem, property taxes, as well as revenue from our water company. So, and that's how we operate. At the end of that meeting, we had, that was right after the passing of the Debt Ceiling Relief Act, for lack of a better phrase to call that. And in that act, we had heard that and read in the news that Congress the government would be coming after unused ARPA funds, American Relief Act, from the pandemic, of which we still have some that are not allocated. So we have a good fiscally responsible plan for usage of those funds, about $1.1 million total. Some of that we've already spent. What I directed Nancy and Robin to do is go back and look at seeing if there are projects that we can use those funds for in the nearer term rather than the longer term. They said, okay, you bet. We talked about some things that we can think about spending that money on. What they did some tremendous research, got back to me the next day and said, hey, based on our research, it looks as if the government's not going to come after those funds anytime soon. But we still need to spend them responsibly in a fiscally responsible manner, obviously, and talked about some things that we can spend that money on and things that we can't spend that money on. And I approved what they came up with to bring to you. You guys have seen it. You've had it for about a week or so. And I know you've taken a look at it. So what we're going to do is give the floor to Nancy and Robin to brief us on some of the specifics, and then we can get into a discussion from there. Again, this is for the rest of fiscal year 23. So Nancy, I'll turn the floor over to you.
Thank you, Mayor. I am basically just going to hit some highlights that I provided for council in the memo that's included in your packet. Overall revenue in general fund increases $121,607, and that is predominantly due to the interest that the city is now receiving on our funds. That is a proposed increase for this fiscal, or for this budget amendment of $103,800. In this budget amendment, you will see that we have the brush dumpster fee that the city is now having to pick up that is not covered by Republic any longer. The first month's or May's fees exceeded $20,000 just for a 4-weekend, 2-day event. So I have increased those fees to $60,000, and at this time, they are going to be coming out of the collection fees we receive for trash. So that has been included into the revenue of general fund. Expenditures have increased to $123,529. In admin, it was basically, we still had some expenditures for this fiscal year on our Ordinance 13 rewrite. I believe we brought that up to $25,000. We purchased the property for Paul Davis Park, which came to, along with the fencing for it, $88,817. So that's in this budget amendment. And the city we have to replace one of our 2 servers, and we have to upgrade our newest server. So that expense will be split between general fund and water fund. We are also now doing payroll in-house because our outsourced payroll expenses were increasing this year significantly. And you will see in all of the departments, there is an expense for their share of the maintenance fees for that software. We also have included, under special events, the purchase of a new Christmas tree for our Christmas lighting event. Were there any questions on administration?
Jesse?
Yeah, I had talked to Stephen earlier for some comments on the Christmas tree. Could you go over some pros of going to the Christmas tree versus what we're doing now? So, justify the $40,000.
Well, it'd be easier to set up, because we struggle every year with that pole with the lights for the trees. And we're actually getting ready to actually have to replace all those lights. It's like 5,000 lights on just the big tree alone. And that's like 6-7 years old, so they've outdone their life on that already. It would come in like a steel frame, and then you can just put everything back together on it. We would have to actually rent a lift for it, but it should be a lot easier and less hazardous to try to maneuver, because just putting that 20-foot steel pole in the ground with like 3 people is kind of a little bit difficult process also, and it should last quite a while. And just we can go from probably about 30-foot to a 40-foot tree. That number is just a parameter. With this particular tree, we could actually even do 25-footer, and each of the frames, you could actually increase it every year if you wanted to go bigger and bigger and bigger each year. And it comes with its own ornaments, jumbo-size Christmas balls and lights and everything like that.
I like that idea. So it sounds like it'd be a big improvement from Public Works' perspective to upgrade.
Yes.
Thank you for that information.
Jesse, I really appreciate that. And as you know, this is coming from our experience at the TML annual convention last year. And just talking to the Christmas tree vendors out there, the time saved for our Public Works Department. It takes usually 2 weeks to complete putting those poles up, and it looks great. But that takes a tremendous amount of time, and it's time away from other things they could be doing in the city. Like Steven said, we can add to this year after year. And I think it's going to be something beautiful that we can enjoy for years to come. That's my input with it.
I think as far as timing also, I've seen you many times after 5 o'clock still out there working on that tree. So if you can reduce that, that'd be a big help too. So I see you, sounds like we can justify it, yeah. Thank you for that information, Stephen.
Great. Thank you, Jesse. You want to continue on? Kay, you got
Sure.
something?
Oh, I'm
Stand by.
sorry, just had a quick, are we getting rid of the smaller trees as well?
That would be ideal, because once we get something, I mean, the focus is going to be a one big grand tree. I mean, for all the effort that you get put in for the Christmas lighting event, you want something bigger than life.
Perhaps the smaller trees, if they're salvageable, could be donated to someplace like St. Jude's Research Ranch or someplace like that for their outdoor settings.
Yeah, we'd be fine with that.
I'd recommend that.
Thanks, Kay. That's great input. Nancy, you want to continue?
Sure. Court expenditures increased $810, and that was that's primarily based on the payroll software system, as well as an increase cost for supplies for the department. Police department expenditures decreased $48,261, and that is predominantly due to the adjustments we made to payroll due to the 2 vacancies we have in the police department personnel. However, overtime was increased because of the demand on personnel due to the vacancies. Vehicle maintenance was increased, as well as the police department's portion of the payroll software system. And there are some other line items, of course, in all these budgets that have been adjusted for their actual to-date expenditures and averaged out to the end of the fiscal year. Okay. Let's see, Public Works increased $13,556, predominantly increased due to the overtime now that we will be manning the dumpsters 2 days a weekend when we do have the dumpsters. Also due to the increased trenching cost for oak wilt. That price has doubled per linear foot, as well as the police department's share of the software for the payroll system. Community center expenses were increased by $5,000, predominantly due to the impact of the additional usage, increased usage we're having at the facility and its impact on utilities as well as cleaning of the facility. Libraries' expenses were decreased by $2,369, and that was basically truing up the payroll for the remainder of the fiscal year and the library's share of the in-house software. Overall, the fiscal year 23 budget amendment number 1, there's a $103 carryover to general fund, and we have 12 months of reserves at the end of this, if this budget amendment is approved. General fund remains stable, and we're able to maintain the city services as well as taking in consideration to increase cost and needs of supplying those services. Were there any questions on general fund?
Council, any questions for Nancy considering the general fund? It's notable that we are working our reserves back up to 12 months. That was what we had pre-pandemic. So the city has done a great job with managing a lean budget. Any questions for Nancy and/or Robin? Okay, with that, we need to take action to approve a resolution number 502-06-2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2023 general fund budget amendment number 1 for the period of 1 October 2022 through September 30, 2023. If there's no further discussion, can I get a motion to approve? Don't all jump at once. No, you can say, move to approve the general fund budget amendment for the rest of the fiscal year.
Move to approve the general fund budget amendment for the rest of the year.
We have a motion to approve.
Second the motion?
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. That moves us on to 9D, the Water Company Operation and Maintenance Fund Budget Amendment. Nancy?
Okay. Revenues in the water fund will increase overall by $303,999, and that is predominantly due to increased interest rates, as well as we have averaged out the actual receipts for the remainder of the fiscal year, and we are proposing that we are going to see a $258,599 increase in water sales than what was originally projected in the original budget for '23. Expenditures. Overall, they have increased by $95,267. Overtime has been increased due to the call-out for employees that are on call for water-related calls. We have increased the attorney and engineering fees based on the increased usage of those two services. The hardware and software line items have been increased to cover the water department's share of the replacement of a server and upgrades to the newer server, as well as the city's in-house payroll system. We have also increased plant operation, maintenance, and repairs line item for any additional maintenance needs that the water system experiences during the remainder of this fiscal year with well sites, any of the water system infrastructure. We have also moved $8,500 of age delinquent accounts are being written off in the water fund. At the end of this budget amendment, the water fund will see a $208,732 carryover to reserves. Reserves will increase from 4 months to 5 months, and the fund still remains stable. The reserves are increasing, and we're still able to provide quality water service to our customers with the increased cost and needs of our department.
Thank you, Nancy. Council, any questions for Nancy and/or Robin regarding our amendment to the water fund?
Yes. And the repairs for the well up here, well pump, that's actually been moved over to.
Yes, that will be moved over to
So
the
otherwise that would be even
capital
higher.
improvements.
Otherwise, that cost would even be higher here. We're fortunate to be able to move that.
Yes,
So,
yes.
just, yeah. That's
Thank you,
what was
Jesse.
80,000 or something like that. So it was pretty good, significant cost, so.
Anything else? Okay. Anyone else? Comments on the water fund? If there's no further discussion, it's a well-managed, fiscally responsible company. If there's no other questions, can I get a motion to approve resolution number 503-06-2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2023 Water Company Operation and Maintenance Fund Budget Amendment Number 1 for the period of 1 October 2022 through 30 September 2023.
Since Rob just said it, can I just say, make a motion to,
You can
As
move
stated.
to approve, yep. So is that your motion to approve? Okay,
My
sorry.
motion.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion to approve and a second from Kelly. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Todd.
Any opposed? No. Okay, motion passes. Nancy, the floor is still yours.
Okay, capital improvement funds. The capital improvement fund is basically seeing an increase in revenue of $19,785, and that is basically due to interest being earned on the American Rescue and Recovery Funds. This is the fund that money was deposited into. You will also note that the SIB loan that had been carried in this capital improvement fund has been moved out to a separate fund, and there will be a separate budget that will be upcoming after we complete this capital improvement budget. I lost my place here, sorry. With the recent water line, 2252 water line relocation project, finding out what that total project was coming to, we had some additional money that was left over that could be expended out of this American Rescue and Recovery Funds. With that, we have chosen to fund the work that needed to be done on the municipal well, the extensive work that Stephen had to have done, as well as the work that we are having to do on the 2252 well. In total, that comes to 70, what, no, I'm so sorry. Looked at the wrong line item. $78,500. We trued up the actual cost of the generator that we put at the Public Works facility earlier this year. Ron is going to be talking to some dealerships to see if he can go on and find a patrol car that can be paid for out of these rescue and recovery funds. So that'll free up some money in the 24 general fund budget. We are also going to restripe Municipal Parkway. We already have a bid for $15,000. We'd like to get that done before the end of the fiscal year. Of course, before school starts. In the original 23 budget, we had in there for a new chill system. And we cannot get the actual system until fiscal year 24. It has been ordered, but we are waiting for it. It's not going to arrive. So that money is not shown to be expended in 23's budget amendment other than the software that we have had installed this past couple of weeks that will operate the systems, and it operates the system we're under now. We will spend $492,165 out of the rescue funds to complete the water line relocation project. So after, we should have a carryover from the 23 budget to 24 of $272,427. But remember, of that, we're going to have to, for sure, be funding the chill plant. So there will be a little bit of additional money left over.
Thank you, Nancy. Council questions for Nancy with Capital Improvements Fund? Okay. So can I get a motion then to approve resolution number 504-06-2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2023 Capital Improvements Fund Budget Amendment Number 1 for the period of 1 October 2022 through 30 September 2023.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve what I just said. Do we have a second?
Second the motion.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? We'll call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Nancy, the floor is still yours.
Okay. The Water Sewer Capital Improvement Fund, budget amendment number 1 is we have moved the SIB loans from the capital improvements project to this fund at the recommendation of our auditor at the end of our fiscal year 22 audit. So that has been accomplished with this budget here. We anticipate that we are going to expend all of the SIP money on the water line relocation project on 2252.
Thank you, Nancy. Council, anything else for Nancy? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve resolution number 50506, 2023, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Garden Ridge, Texas, approving fiscal year 2023 water sewer capital improvements fund budget amendment number 1 for the period of 1 October 2022 through 30 September 2023.
So moved.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? Second. Motion to approve and a second. Any further discussion? Call it to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. So that represents what? About 20 minutes of discussion and voting from the council for this tonight, but it represents days and weeks of hard work from Robin in this case, and Karen working with us, and Nancy and the entire staff. So thank you so much. Again, it's a very lean, efficient, well-managed, fiscally responsible budget. We appreciate your hard work.
Thank you, council, for supporting our budget amendment.
Moving on to item number 9G, Comal County Tax Office Passport Services and Ribbon Cutting. Kay, this is all yours.
Yeah, just an update a little bit. Jesse and I were able to go to the ribbon cutting, and Kristen Hoyt was there, of course. She was stressing over how long this took her to get this established. She said, "Oh my gosh, I've been working on this since January." And I thought, that's incredible. She even called the United States, the head, whomever that is, of the passport services directly and so on to get this done, and it's turned around. I think you've seen some information. There are some websites that she's offered, but basically it allows you don't get your passport there, but you can process it. And it's open now by appointment from 10:30 to 4, and she saw her recently, and she said that it's doing well. So she just wanted to make everybody aware of it. If you need a passport, you already have a passport, you need one need to renew it or whatever, and they will do the photos there as well. So it's kind of one-stop shopping. You still have to send it off. And so it was great. And it's right there, just more or less behind the county tax office, so that if you've been there, it's very easy to find. Parking, not a big deal. It's a nice service that she came up with and did create for really everyone. But she's working so much harder than a lot of people over there to include Garden Ridge, including our pop-up tax offices and so on. She's really an asset. And as much as possible, she comes to our county lunches and updates us as well. So anyways, Jesse and I did enjoy going to it. So if any questions, it's on the website. It's on the Comal County website.
Thanks so much for going to that.
Sure.
That means a lot to the city and the city council that the two of you took the time and effort to go make that happen. So thank you very much. Linda was there? Awesome. So thanks for doing that, Kay, and thanks for that update.
Welcome.
Outstanding. Moving on to item number 9H, 2023 Texas Legislative Session. I'm going to defer to Lisa. She's got the info on this one.
Yeah, I wanted to bring people up to date on some of the bills that we were following. House Bill 1613, which was the one in regards to state aids to local governments who have been disproportionately affected by ad valorem tax relief to disabled vets. That actually passed the House, but then it was amended by the Senate. They did this really capricious carve-out of that ended up being like 2 different counties. They carved it out by size, and it was between 300, 1,000, and 700. I mean, it made it very specific to the counties that they were looking at. So the Senate did that, sent it back to the House, where ultimately they did not concur, so it died. It did not advance, but I think this one is going to come up again. We worried a bit about Donna Campbell's automatic disannexation bill. That one did not advance, although a terrible one, I think it was by Betancourt, did advance. It's House Bill 2038. Property owners in any area of an ETJ can petition the city to be removed from that ETJ, and the city is required to grant that. They're sort of calling this, it's going to end up in kind of a Swiss cheese effect, so it's to be determined how all of that plays out. The bill that TML was worried about, that was against taxpayer-funded lobbying, didn't make it out of the House. The short-term rental bill also did not advance. It was actually turned into an interim study at the end, and then it didn't even advance that. It didn't even get approval for an interim study. So that short-term rental bill is dead in the water for now. We all know the state pre-exemption bill did pass. That one is one. Part of this I got from Bill Longley, who's the general counsel for TML, and he spoke at one of my HCA, Hill Country Alliance leadership online sessions. He doesn't feel like we'll know the impact of that bill for several years, and it's really was written to be tested in court. So we'll see how that one plays out. Another one that I did not like and didn't follow was House Bill 3699, and it is in regards to municipal regulation of subdivisions and approval of subdivision or plats. And what it did was take out municipalities' ability to require any kind of analysis, study, document, agreement to be required in the app. So it would take out something in the application. So it takes out things like traffic impact analysis. We cannot require any auxiliary documents beyond what's in their subdivision plat application. So that one was a little disappointing, of course. The quarry bills that Isaac put out, dead. Campbell's quarry bills, dead. So those are the ones I was paying the most attention to. We got to get back at it.
If I-
89th session.
If I could interrupt just for a moment? if
Yeah.
that's all
Yeah,
right.
Charlie, go ahead.
My apologies. There were several bills that were problematic this legislative session that did get adopted. Of course, our office is analyzing those bills for all of our clients. As a reminder, on July 28th, Hog Wild will be going on right down the street, and TML will be there giving a legislative update at the lunch part of Hog Wild. So, all right.
Thanks, Charlie. Lisa, thanks for all that dedicated research. That's awesome. Time to get back at it.
All you can do.
Anybody have questions for Lisa on that? That's great work. Thanks. All right, we've already completed 9I, so moving on to 10A, City Council projects. So mitigation of growth and encroachment impacts on Garden Ridge. Lisa, I don't have anything to add for this month, do you?
I did reach out to Laddie Denton in regards to Enchanted Bluff. They are planning to start paving in July and August, and he is having his project manager put together a list of what they're working on at a timeline, and hopefully he said a good aerial drone shot. So by next month, I hope we'll have something.
Thanks for that, and I appreciate you, that relationship that you have with Laddie Denton. That's great. It's for the city. All right, 10A2, the Great Springs project. I know you guys have some updates on that.
I guess a couple of things. One, and I'm lumping it here because we worked with Great Springs Project on our Texas Parks and Wildlife Division grant. We did not get it. I've got a call I've emailed and called Trey Cooksey, who is the Recreational Trails Project Manager, and I reached out to David with Great Springs, and he had seen our scoring matrix and really was baffled why we didn't get this. He said it was a great application. Again, you can reapply in November, but I don't know how to make the thing any better. I mean, I'm going to have to really figure out what they're looking for. I mean, they approved a similar mileage trail for shirts. I don't know, we got to dig into that a little
So
bit.
did he see our actual scorecard from the
He
committee
did.
that scored it?
Yes.
So we were right up there, and
I don't know where we were. I've asked for that from Trey. I don't think we were right up there.
Jesse, anything to add on that one?
Nothing else to add on that one, maybe Kenny can.
So Nancy and I discussed that, and your comment, Nancy, was that ours was concrete and all the others were natural trails, right?
Nancy
That's-
and I did see that.
In looking at some of the reviews of the different other projects that were awarded, most of them were natural or granite-type trails, and ours was concrete.
Yeah, I
So
mean,
that's,
Nancy and I
I'm
both. yeah,
suspecting
sorry.
that's,
But the cost wasn't any greater. I mean, if you're looking at cost, it was no greater, the trails were no longer, I mean, it was. So it's, yeah, waiting to hear back from Trey, I'll bug him again later this week.
I appreciate you doing that. I was really, really frustrated to find out that we didn't get that grant. I mean, how?
It's frustrating.
How?
Great grant.
Yeah.
May I ask a question on that?
Yeah.
Is there a ratio to like the size of city, that they, nothing? I mean, there's no pro rata? Okay.
Shirt's got something.
They're bigger than we are.
Yeah. So,
So
anything
only-
else?
The only thing I want to add is, Nancy already covered the walkability community workshop going on June 27th. And like Kay mentioned, go to the Friends of the Library event first at 5, then come over to, the community center at 6. And what the plan is, there'll be a short presentation, 30 minutes a total, and then about an hour and 15 minutes of time to look at the different tables, look at drawings, all the data, all the input they've gotten, and be able to get in more input from residents. So all residents are invited to attend and provide input there. And then what he does, he's going to get a report back to council, either, I think it's August or September, I'm not sure when we delayed it. Because we got so many other things going on, we got more time, so. And then, so this is an example, this is the first time doing it. Our original contact resigned, so we have a new person we're working with, along with Sonia and her team, so. Encourage everybody to come.
Awesome. Thank you, Jesse. All right, moving on to 10-3, Economic Development and Council Liaison to Tri-County Chamber of Commerce. Kelly and Kay?
You want to go first?
Sure. What I'm seeing with the meetings, the second Tuesday meetings, which happen to be today, I'm seeing more of a, if not directly residents of Garden Ridge, those just right outside, like Grit and Grace is now a member. RHR Roofing is a member. Veterans Air is a member. So this is all, we're becoming more entwined, if you will, with the chamber. I think that's certainly to our advantage.
Fantastic. Thank you.
And RHR and Veteran Air are both on the board of directors now. for the
Correct,
chamber.
that's right, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Missy's on the board, you're right.
Yep. And Chris with RHR.
And Chris with RHR. You're right, Kelly.
Outstanding. We appreciate you guys attending those meetings and going to the lunches and keeping up that communication for us. Do you think our support of the mixers and whatnot has helped with that?
I do. Well, I'll bring that up on item 13. I'll bring more information on that.
Okay.
As far as economic development, though, we still have a lot of interest out there. I think because of our participation, we have more interest in Garden Ridge from investors. I think once Mr. Fisher's project, when he starts rolling with that, I think people are going to follow. So I think he's going to spearhead the whole thing.
If you build it,
they will come.
They will come.
That's right.
So, Council, Kelly and I and Nancy have been working pretty tightly over the last couple of months with the mixers, obviously, and then discussions with and about property owners in Garden Ridge and investors. Nancy and I will be meeting with Valcor later on this month, and to give them our vision, if you will, of economic development, the master land use plan, and then we can have some further discussions after that. So we're working hard on this. So, yeah. Anything else, Kelly? Okay. On to Jesse, AAMPO.
Nothing new to discuss. Basically, everything that happened at the June meeting was items that were reviewed in May, and then they were actually approved and forwarded to the Transportation Policy Board, was covered. There'll be no meeting in July. July is usually a meeting month just because of everything going on. So that's all I have.
Thanks, Jesse. Thanks for being there for us. Anything to add for 1085?
For the liaison to the water company, the only thing I was going to cover was what I said already about the AMI meters. That's already covered all that information earlier.
Outstanding. Thank you. 10A6, Council Liaison to Comal ISD. So Todd and I are being bulls in a china shop with Comal ISD with some frustrations that he and I have talked about, and sharing the frustrations of all of our residents, specifically, I won't say all, but a great majority of them, specifically with the Comal ISD bonds and item B not passing, Proposition B, which was finishing Comal or Davenport High School, and then basically finishing and making Canyon Lake High School Stadium safe, right? So we had the, how do I want to say this? Politely, we had some big disagreements with how the bond was presented to specifically Garden Ridge, but to, it's not just Garden Ridge to finish Davenport High School, it's all of Comal ISD and all of Comal County. Todd and I have a difference of opinion of how that was presented by Comal ISD and leadership to the rest of the county. So all propositions passed in the city of Garden Ridge, including Proposition B. Proposition A, which was infrastructure and new schools, barely passed. You call that a win, but it barely passed through Comal ISD or Comal County. And then Proposition C, which was some further infrastructure and Wi-Fi security, that passed by a little bit higher number, but it was close. So, and the way that Comal ISD referred to Proposition B, it was, what'd they say, stadium improvements?
Stadium improvements, and then the verbiage was a new, and this is the part I was frustrated with, a new field house for Davenport.
Oh, yeah.
There ain't no new if there's not one.
Yeah,
It
finishing.
is a field house for the school.
So Todd and I are working on this. We are extremely frustrated. Now in a public forum, Comal ISD and leadership, you know that we're frustrated with how this was presented, and we'd like to talk with you about it. Does that say it correctly?
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right.
You were politer than I was.
Okay. Anything else to add on that, Todd?
For the people that don't know, we had the second ever graduation for Davenport High School here in the end of May. Unfortunately, there was also a fatality of a graduating senior a couple of hours before graduation. So unfortunate, it happens. There's a lot to the story and a lot more than probably came out, but it was an unfortunate event.
Yes, it was. Anything else? Okay. Moving on to city welcome signage. Okay?
Yes, a roundup, excuse me, Mayor. That signage, well, obviously with the continued construction and the 20-foot easement and setback and so on and so forth, as discussed before, it's really not within our budget or feasible at this point to create that signage, but I have spoken to someone about the Paul Davis Park signage. First gentleman that was recommended, one of the first gentlemen that was recommended for the perimeter, if you will, city perimeter gateway signage, I don't know what happened to him. I really don't. I mean, I'm concerned that something literally has happened to him. The referral person, it doesn't know what happened. So I've not heard back from him. I had also asked him to investigate the Paul Davis Park sign, and once again, nothing. And we had even agreed, you know, on a preliminary budget as to how much we could effectively pay to get this designed. Crickets. So I went out back to the gentleman that gave us the first quote for the gateway signage, and although I don't anticipate, you know, necessarily being cost effective, I did tell him that budget is still a major consideration, but he's willing to consider it, and I've sent him pictures, and he's willing to come back to me and at least offer a proposal on that. So perhaps we can perhaps get that project done certainly before the 4th of July. Kidding. So I think that's where we are on all of that. I do intend to pursue, you know, what the heck happened to this poor man. But,
Thanks, Kay.
Any
You said
questions?
4th of July, and Rod perked his head up right there. So, in our meeting with the budget amendment, Nancy and I and Robin talked about, would ARPA funds be available to use for something like city signage? And I think we came up with it. It's not something we can do, right? So we're trying to find money for it. Awesome.
but we'll move forward on the Paul Davis Park
Yes, ma'am.
project.
I have a question.
Go.
I know years ago, before I got on council, we were, I guess, Purple Heart City, named Purple, Heart, and we still don't have those signs up. I noticed that Shirts has them, not on 2252 or 3009.
Everywhere.
They have them, you know, at the entrance of Door Lane, a place like that that's on City Lane. So I wonder, can we do something like that? You know, maybe on Batcave, on Benzile. Anyway, just thoughts. I want to say, we need to get those signs up. We need to get them up somewhere.
Yeah, we have them. We're ready to go. And we've been working with our contact. And the last time, it was May's Comal County Luncheon Meeting that I was promised that we would have that within a month.
That's what I'm asking. Can we do them somewhere else then?
Been a
If we
month.
can't get TxDOT. Anyway.
Yeah. So I've said, just let's go do it and let them say something to us. But Nancy's talked me down from that, so.
Put it underneath the Gardner's City sign,
I
limit
know.
signs.
We're working on it. It's a good question, though. I know. Anything else on that? All right, we'll move on to item number 11, discussion of future agenda items. Anybody want to see something on July's agenda?
Okay, this is just for discussion. Please don't shoot the messenger. And I'm going to have to use a 4-letter word on this one. Deer. There's been a development. Hollywood Park has chronic wasting disease. Their situation very closely mimics ours. Somewhere in here, we probably want to get the wildlife biologist back out here to talk about what they're doing. It doesn't have to be July. It could be August. I don't care.
We can't discuss the item. You can ask for the item to be placed on the agenda, but not discuss.
We're discussing if we want to put it on the agenda. It says discussion. Okay.
Sorry, no.
No, okay. Put it on the agenda.
Okay, we'll put on deer and chronic wasting disease on July's agenda. Anybody else? No. Okay, moving on. Item number 12, citizen comment period. You don't have to have signed up for this, but if you wish to come up and speak, you have 2 minutes. Make sure you sign in with the city secretary. I see one person on their way. who needs no introduction. Dr. Miller, the floor is yours, sir.
Be that as it may, I'm Jim Miller, 9910 Marie Meadow. First of all, it was a good meeting. There's a lot covered. And I was previously writing down things, had questions about. First of all, welcome, Robin. I'm Dr. Jim. I'm the one of the resident contrarians in Garden Ridge. I tend to think of myself as a watchdog, much more than a contrarian. I had to renumber these things as time went on. So I'm moving down. I'll move down to number. Well, it had it down as lastly. It was number 4. But do we still have a Veterans Outreach office here at Garden Ridge? We used to have it years ago when a guy from the Veterans Administration came into the city one day a month, I believe it was, or Tuesday or Wednesday, and met, because we had so many people. No more? Okay, we don't have it anymore. Number 2, somebody has to refresh my memory. I'm getting a little old. What was Hog Wild? I know I heard it before, and I just can't remember what Hog Wild was. Somebody pull me to the side and tell me what that is. I've been on the Parks Committee for several years, and with now the application for the funds for the trail having been turned down, we're back to where we were 5 years ago. At one time, I was advocating for a mulch trail. The mulch is free up in New Braunfels. We get the truck, we get we get several truckloads, lay the damn thing down, it's natural, and we go from there and apply again next year. The first thing I wanted to tell oh Jesus, there's not enough time. Be careful with the deer thing, and be careful with the deer brouhaha we had several years ago. So unforced error from the prior administration. Don't make the same mistake. That same administration had a water bill brouhaha where they increased rates in August of a drought, and the mayor stepped in it. Don't make the same mistake, Rod, with this garbage thing. Communication is key. One of the things I wrote down was to communicate it through market days. It's first Friday, but we canceled the first Friday for July, so it won't be in time. But I think communication is going to be key to sell that to what you call it. Funds never go down. The rates never go down. So if you can tell me that the rates are going to stay the same for the next 7 years, I'm on board. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Jim. Anyone else? Colonel Leatherberry, the floor is yours, sir.
Yes, Roy Leatherberry, 20711 FM 3009. We lived in San Antonio 10 years and 13 days ago. And before that, they had the garbage auto, and it wasn't a problem. I mean, this isn't Washington, D.C. I bet you that if you give everybody a container and say, put your stuff in it, roll it to the curb, I bet you won't have to have any remedial classes. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks, Colonel Leatherberry. Appreciate it. You got to sign in. Anybody else? Or you can sign that piece of paper. Anyone else? All right. We will close item number 12. Move on to item number 13, reports and comments from mayor and city council members with the items listed. So, council, go ahead. Go.
I'll do a chamber update here then.
Please.
June 22nd, mixer and grand opening at Larkspur at Creekside. I would invite all of you to come out to this. Unfortunately, I am on vacation. So I'd love if you guys could go out there. Creekside, they could give you a lot of ideas to brainstorm on as to what we want and need here in Garden Ridge along our 2252 corridor. They have a lot of neat places over there. Hold on, I'm getting an Amber Alert. I'm reading this off a text here. So there'll be a Havana party, live music, food, and drinks. June 27th, Networking 101 Lunch and Learn, 11:45 to 1 at Gather Brewing in Universal City. July 11th, that's the next luncheon, and they're having a Christmas in July. And I don't know what all that entails, but Mindy likes to celebrate her birthday for a month, so it probably just revolves around that. And that is all I had.
Today was a luau.
Oh, okay.
Thanks, Kelly. Anybody else? Families at Garden Ridge Adopt a Highway program. Our next pickup is Saturday, the 1st of July, to get ready for the 4th of July. 8 to 10, sorry, and see you out there at Northeast Bible Church front parking lot. Anybody else? Item number 13?
I will try to get the scouts to line up. Unfortunately, I will be out of town.
Okay.
No promises. I'll see what I can make happen. And since Scouts is on here, as of 8:05 this evening, Garden Ridge has another Eagle Scout.
Who?
Caden Scribner.
Really?
You got it.
Congratulations, Caden. That's awesome. Good for you. Thanks for that, Todd. That's great news. Anything else? All right, on to item number 14, adjournment. There being no further business, the city council special meeting is adjourned at 9:01 PM. Thank you very much, all. Thanks for staying, and